Hey, wake up.
Go away, go away.
It's time to wake up.
So tired of this. What do you need? What do you want? Can I not just live here without having to occasionally deal with you animals?
The sun's up. Now get your ass out of bed.
You don't want to lie in bed like a vegetable and do nothing the rest of your life. I've tried it. Bed sores hurt.
You want a coffee? I don't know.
Coffee time.
The only thing better than a third cup of coffee? A fourth cup of coffee.
It's a real sickness. I ought to be in a program.
Ow, dude.
Well, I'm sorry, but I've got other shit to do today. Now, what the hell is wrong with you?
Every day I wake up.
Care for a cup of Wilkins coffee?
No, I don't like coffee.
I need another cup of coffee.
How you doing, Smooth Skins? Sorry about that. I didn't have an intro for anything, and I hate starting a stream with no intro. It just don't feel right. I should probably develop a generic one, but thank you for everyone for showing up this evening for a little special TV review stream. I don't normally do these because I don't normally actually watch TV, but as you'll find out very shortly, I had a special occasion. I kind of wanted to watch this one just a little bit. And my son wanted to watch this with me as well. And so we watched it together, and it took a couple weeks. We wanted to get on stream and talk about it. And that is him right below me in the designated as Bracken. He didn't want his face or his name on the stream, but he is here joining us from his room across the house. Bracken, thank you for being here and bringing your Fallout lore with you as well. He also provided us with a few caps for the stream, so just in case I need a bomb. And he also provided this it's kind of hard to see, but there's like a little mushroom cloud on the inside of this nuke dice. Cool. I'm gonna roll it to see how it goes. That's a 7. Also joining me this evening is my good friend Spencer from the Fantasy Files podcast.
Howdy.
Miss Vex Electronica, who is a YouTuber in her own right, friend of the channel. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Mr. A.C. Pritchard, a fellow author of Orcs of the Iron Age, a mutual friend of ours of Mr. Royce from A Drink with Crazy. Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here.
We are multi-streaming right here on YouTube, on Rumble, X, and a couple of other people's channels. So, wherever you're watching this at, we're on my channel, John A. Douglas. I am John A. Douglas. If you don't know who I am, and odds are you probably don't, I'm an independently published fantasy author, the author of this book right here, The Black Crown, available on Amazon right now in paperback and Kindle, and on Kindle Unlimited. And hopefully soon a hardcover will be available. But I wanted to kind of kick us off real quick. I wanted to kind of give us, a little rundown of where we all kind of came into love with Fallout first. And I figured at the very least, we could start because he's the one that is the whole reason the stream is here. Bracken, where'd you kind of start with Fallout?
About when I got Fallout 4, when I was, I want to say 13, 14. I beat the game once and then beat it again and again. And then I also had New Vegas in 3. I played some of that when I was younger, but never, beat it. And after beating Fallout 4 multiple times, I decided to go and play New Vegas again. And I have yet to beat 3 again.
All right. And when you bought it, when you were 13, you mean when I bought you Fallout 4?
I don't remember those kind of details. I just remember playing the game.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was a time well spent. You guys remember when you're young enough to have all the time in the world to play through, a game multiple times that was that big?
Yeah, I know. Now I don't have it.
Welcome to the world, buddy. He just started a trade school not that long ago, so his free time is now a little less than it was beforehand. But it is what it is. Spencer, what about you, man?
Well, you know, what's funny is Bracken's making me feel old because he played Fallout 4 when he was 13 or 14. I was playing Fallout 3 had just come out, and I was playing that when I was 13 or 14. so that was where I started with it, and I skipped, and I loved it. I loved Fallout 3. And then I skipped New Vegas, and when Fallout 4 came out, I was just playing like other games. I didn't really get into it right away, but I saw all the buzz around it. And my co-host Gabe was telling me literally for years, you have to play Fallout 4. And so I finally did about a year and a half ago, and I quickly fell in love with it and put like hundreds, like plural, hours into that game. Just over the past like year or two. So I love Fallout 4. And I just started Fallout New Vegas after watching the show. I was like, I gotta see what all this is about. So that's kind of my history with Fallout. But I've been a big Bethesda fan for a long time. Like I love all the Elder Scrolls games, and quickly fell in love with Fallout.
Vix, what about you? Do you have a history with the Fallout games?
I call myself a gamer. I am a gamer, but I have never played a Fallout game. It's just one of those franchises that I never took the time to get into, even though I own 3, 4, and New Vegas. So after I had no intention of watching this show either, and then someone was just like, hey, we're going to be reviewing this briefly on the stream. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll watch the first couple episodes. And then I just binged the whole series. I was like, oh, this is really good. And then I was just like, why didn't anyone tell me there were Western elements in Fallout? I would have played it a lot sooner.
Oh yeah, especially New Vegas.
Right.
Oh,
so
yeah. Big iron.
I broke out New Vegas last week, and I'm slowly but surely, when the time allows me, like breaking my way through that, and I'm very much enjoying it.
AC Pritchard, man, how about you? Where did you start out with Fallout?
Well, I kind of missed the train when it comes to like 1, 2, and tactics. I am intrigued when I hear any game that has the word tactics in it, because that's usually a dog whistle that says this game's awesome, basically. So I'm gonna probably dip my toe into tactics at some point, but I was just around the right age to like be making my own money and stuff when 3 came out, so I was actually able to, pick that up, played the crap out of it with the DLC and everything, multiple playthroughs, just had fun with it, because like to me, it's a game where it values freedom, so it's almost like a book that you can reread over and over again, but it's also choose your own adventure. So I tended to just play the crap out of every single one of them from 3 on. I jumped into New Vegas. I remember I had this really long profile on there, a character on there, where I realized the value of charisma late in the game, and I was just determined to talk the end guy out of his master plan. So I just like never beat that game. Long story short, I just kept playing hours of it, and yeah, but yeah, dude. So I love the lore. So like in my adulthood, since I got married and became a father and stuff, like I remember doing research for like my novel for like that year, and I was just working long hours and stuff. And one of the things I would do to kind of get a palate cleanser is I would just toss a long Fallout lore video on. So I got like a lot of random,
like the Epic Nate.
Yup, Epic
Dude.
Nate, and there's another one that I'm drawing a blank on, but there's another really good one. Oxhorn. Shout outs to Oxhorn. I should see if he wants to come on a podcast. We should try to like get one of these dudes that the video game lore YouTubers.
Yeah.
They're actually really awesome, I think.
And
they're based.
And by the way, for everyone watching, don't watch the Epic Nate unless you want to play all the games unspoiled, because you'll spoil everything.
Yeah.
But they're
thought that was
great.
his
They're
gimmick.
amazing videos. Amazing videos.
Yes.
I thought his whole gimmick was spoiling things.
Yep. It's like
Yeah.
a documentary. Each one is like
Yeah.
a little documentary.
There's a lot of work he puts into those videos.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's what I said. They're passionate. Those video game documentary YouTubers, I'll call them. Very passionate because they've put as many hours into the game as we have, and are just as in love with the world as we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is.
For my money, now I have said this on stream before, but I never had a really good computer that was well for gaming. You know, I was more concerned about whether or not I could just write on my computer. So, like the computer I'm on now is the newest computer I've ever owned. Like, go to the store and pick it up brand new. I usually have to get, used ones. So, like, my computers were always a generation or so behind when it came to computing power. So when Fallout 1 and 2 were big on PC, and I was never a big PC gamer, so I knew about them. That kind of went by, but I had an Xbox 360, and everybody was raving about Fallout 3, and I just I've never been good at first person shooters, but I kind of adapted and I picked up 3. So 3 was where I really fell in love with the games, mostly just from the gameplay and exploration standpoint. The lore is great because of all the interesting elements of it, and the games have a lot of personality. To me, that's what really makes them stand out the most. The Art Deco, the atomic punk design of all the stuff in it, and the lore is pretty cool too. My favorite moment is where where a lot of people fell in love with, when you get outside the vault and you have that moment where the blinding sun fades away and the wasteland is just laid out before you. And it's such an iconic moment, I think, in gaming. And it kind of, I ain't gonna lie, it pissed me off that they didn't try to replicate that in the show.
Yeah.
Didn't they?
There was a little nod, but I'll get into that after.
Little, but like when Lucy first gets out of the vault, and we'll talk about that later, but when she first gets out of the vault, and it's a little constrained at first, but she looks out and I'm like,
it's over quick.
Well,
She
it's
sees
like,
the Ferris wheel and stuff, right?
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was very underwhelming. I was like, come on, give us that big sweeping look at this shit shot.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll bring this back to away from the games, because we could talk about the games, sure, but we're here to talk about the TV show.
I have one thing I do want to mention about that. I do agree. I love the atomic punk and the Art Deco look. That's also my complaint with Fallout 4. One of my only complaints is that it kind of lost that style a bit. Just a wee bit.
I didn't think so.
I could see it from a perspective, but like at the same time, certain quests are just like, holy crap, this is Fallout. Like, I remember there's one where there's just a bunch of raiders that set up shop on the coast, and they have like this like floating settlement of like Mad Max craziness, and they even have like a king and stuff. And without spoiling anything, one of the main quest lines, I think, brings you there just to look for somebody. But I just remember thinking, like, holy crap, like, what the heck? There's so many moments like that where it's just like, this is very Fallout. But at the same time, with all the synth stuff and the Institute stuff, I can very much see how it's like Blade Runner.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, it's like Blade Runner.
I do like that they tried something new, though. That's something I can't complain about.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, the Institute doesn't exist. That's canon. It's dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah. People deduced it from the ending of the season 1 and like all the possible canon endings.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What?
Institute's not there. It's the most likely.
I can't believe we're living in the best timeline now.
Yeah. And just so you know, in case you didn't catch it, that the airship, the Brotherhood airship,
the Pride
it's
one.
the same one. It's the same one. Yeah.
I thought it was a duplicate one, because they have the material to do that.
They do, like the blueprint. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish the show could duplicate some competent Brotherhood of Steel members, but
That's what I'm saying.
When they took their helmets off, it was always just like, oh. But like every time the helmet's on with the badass Terminator voice and stuff, it's like, okay, all right, now we're getting somewhere.
See, I don't know if I totally like agree, because I even like playing through Fallout 4, I always thought the Brotherhood was pretty incompetent. Like they were always
That's
kind of
Fallout 4's Brotherhood. First off,
There is a difference, yeah.
Yeah, Fallout 4 had this weird thing with their Brotherhood where they were slightly incompetent. They could still do things, but they weren't nearly as cool as 3 or, I think, New Vegas is.
I guess that's where the contrast for me comes in, because my only exposure to the Brotherhood of Steel was mainly from 3. So, you know, in my mind, this order of wasteland warriors that, you know, kind of fancy themselves knights trying to bring order to the wasteland, in the TV show, you know, kind of came across as just a massive, kind of a big collection of fuck ups, and that I was sitting there going, how do these people work their actual jobs? You know, how do they do their actual duties? Being like this, Maximus was one example.
Yeah,
but,
for a guy named Maximus, he sure wasn't living up to his name.
Right. See, I thought in 3 they were called the Enclave. I thought they weren't even
the Enclave
Brotherhood.
was the separate guys.
They're another
awesome.
faction. Yeah, they're another faction. They're like the remnant. They're like the true remnants of the U.S. government, basically.
They even had a mention in the show, which I wish there was more of them, because they have some of the coolest power armor in the entire franchise.
One of the only other factions that has access to power armor for sure, and they have their own style of power. Like
they got like a huge oil
years.
rig in the ocean as their HQ.
Yeah,
you get to visit that in Fallout 2, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the other reasons they made the Brotherhood like they did in the show is because, I mean, the Brotherhood from Fallout 4 is largely kind of not like hated by the fandom, but people definitely give them a fair amount of shit.
The Brotherhood from 4, you said?
Yeah. People I've noticed that people generally don't like them. They were just like a bit annoying in 4, and so I think if anything, the show was mostly taking a lot of its cues from Fallout 4, since that's the game that most people had played.
I thought the creator of the show actually said they were taking mostly 3 and 4 as inspiration.
That's what I thought too. Bethesda had a lot. They were just taking the Bethesda lore, basically.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah,
but at the same time, Shady Sands is game 1. You helped develop.
Shady Sands is game 1.
Yep,
and they stayed true to New Vegas. They did say that the show was taking place, what was it, like 20 or 30 years after the events of New Vegas?
Yes, 30 years.
They said.
Yeah. And that's gonna be fun.
Now, if they do a season 2, which I assume they will, because this has been a huge success.
They've been approved.
I wonder
for
if they're gonna visit other areas, like maybe not New Vegas specifically, but other areas in California where like 1 and 2 were set.
I mean, I would assume
Shady Sands.
I would assume we're going to New Vegas because that was in the final shot.
Yep, and if we're at the Strip, in New Vegas, there's an entire canon map of locations around the Strip that we play in the
There
games.
better be some Yes Man in season 2.
Oh yeah, there was did you catch this the Autotron or whatever, the Automatron guy? There's a
I believe so.
Yeah. There was like a
the Robo Brains.
Yeah. Well, no. There was a Centurion, Mr. House Centurion that was broken in one of the
I saw
the
that.
outros. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Anyway,
those outros were great.
I liked them a lot too.
Awesome.
Yep.
Oh man, they were so good.
Did you guys catch the what they're a nod to? The intro to every game is a slow pan
out
of every game. So the outro to every episode is the intro to every game, essentially.
Oh, okay. I gotta admit, they added a lot of really. They put some actual love in this. Unlike some adaptations of other properties that you find in mainstream entertainment, like you can tell the love was actually there for whatever deficits they had in some elements of the show. Like there was attention to detail. They were very faithful to the aesthetic, I think.
Yeah.
And even if the lore is kind of wonky up and down all over the place.
Yeah, but that's Fallout lore in general.
But still,
I did some research too, so I can weigh in on that a little bit. But continue.
But yeah, like the look felt, the sound was there. And I think if we can go ahead and like start with like episode 1, I don't want to go by episode by episode, but just kind of starting at the beginning like that. That opening with Walton Goggins, was killer.
So good.
It was
amazing.
Great.
Yep.
Spot on. Yeah. And looking back on it after the fact when I was doing my review, dude, there's actually so much foreshadowing and little details there that you don't catch at first. Like that scene is revealing that he like lost his job and he fell out with the government and the
I picked up on that almost immediately.
Yeah.
Them two guys that were talking to each other, going, "Hey, is that who? What's he doing here at a birthday party?" Because that was something that happened to a lot of actors back in the day when they couldn't get work. They had to pick up jobs where they could, and kids' birthday parties was more or less like signing autographs in a grocery store opening parking lot. That was not very glamorous. So I kept waiting for in the flashbacks. I was like, obviously there's a fall from grace somewhere, and I was waiting for it.
Yeah, and on top of that too, it also reveals that him and his old lady got a divorce.
Yep. Alimony payments. Yep.
Without saying anything really, he's doing kids parties so that he can entertain his daughter and have something positive for her because he basically knows the world's going to end. So he's just trying to have fun with his daughter. It also, it reveals that the public thinks he's a communist. That's how his name was slandered as a communist, and he's like a based conservative. So so that's just ironic and kind of funny because like if you look at the line, he's like, really, you're here? He's here? Yeah. Well, he still took my money, implying that he's like doesn't believe in capitalism or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of little details in that opening scene. It's crazy. And,
that's interesting. That kind of hints that he ended up siding with the people we see later in that little that lady that was like they call us
Moldover and all of them. Yep.
Yeah.
Or
cool.
or that he didn't side with them and she's powerful enough to just slander his name. And there was the Red Scare to the extreme going on in the Fallout universe. So he says it right in the advertisement. Perfect for keeping out the rads and the reds. Right. Yeah. So if you paint somebody as a communist, that's the end of their career. Canceled. There's cancel culture there.
Right.
So. The ultimate irony about all that being that, if you guys remember in that era with Joseph McCarthy was hunting down, trying to find. Initially, he was trying to find communist infiltrators in the government.
Yes.
It was his investigations that led him to Hollywood, and the KGB files that were opened up after the Soviet Union fell apart basically proved he was right, that the Soviet Union was paying millions of dollars for decades to try and infiltrate the entertainment industry at almost every level because they understood how powerful Hollywood was at that time. Which I'm guessing they weren't really going with that particular route when it came to the Red Subversion. They going with the public school version of everybody was scared there was a communist around every corner. Well, in Hollywood there kind of was. There was a lot of them, but that's neither here nor there. That's just because that's not exact lore to Fallout itself.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just that's a detail in the narrative that I feel like a lot of reviewers seem to miss out because I've seen a lot of people talk about that whole communist conversation that Moldover and Cooper have in episode 6 or 7. And they applied the modern day logic to it, which doesn't make any sense when you're looking at this. This is 2077 USA stuck in 1950s logic, where communism was a very real concern by everyone. Yeah. So I like that you guys have already I don't know the lore very well because I haven't played the games yet. I'm just starting to play them now, right? So my perspective is coming from this as someone who just watched a good show, but even I'm able to pick up on all these little nuances that seem to be going over a lot of heads, which actually makes the show, I think, pretty phenomenal for that reason.
Yeah, I was telling my friends, I was like, hey, even if you guys haven't played the games, you need to watch this show. And there was one day where I think I had watched the first 2 episodes, and I texted my mom at like 9 o'clock in the morning or something. And I was like, hey, I'm like, you're not gonna get, or yeah, I'm like, you're not gonna get all the references from the games or whatever, but you need to watch the show. You're gonna love it. She started watching it at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 1 o'clock I texted her and I'm like, hey, what did you think of it? And she's like, I'm on episode like 4 or 5 or whatever she was on. And so I thought that's one thing that the show did really well, is it was able to make it accessible for people that haven't played the games. And like, if I can just riff on my general thoughts for a minute, John mentioned earlier that there are so many adaptations that have come out recently that are complete dog shit, like Wheel of Time. And, Halo.
Yeah,
Halo.
that's the biggest one.
And
I'm not even a Halo fan, and I know that show was awful.
Yeah, exactly. And you get pissed about these adaptations and stuff, and they're like, well, they couldn't be completely true to the books or whatever because it's turning it into a different thing, and they had to make it more viable for people that like haven't read the books and stuff. And you look at a show like Fallout, and I'm like, they fucking nailed it. Like, they really did. Does it have its issues? I've heard complaints from people. Like, I don't personally.
We'll go over the issues if you want. We can go over some
let's
do
I would say let's go over what we like first. Before we do, because sometimes you can end up getting the good stuff can end up getting lost in a lot of the bitching about what's bad. Because let's make no mistake, most people kind of have a more positive outlook on this than others. I know the Friday Night Tights crew wasn't real high on it, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I liked it more than I disliked it. Although I will say some of the story, the more I think about it, the less a lot of things make sense. But there was more there to, I think, enjoy than there was to dislike. From my perspective. And casting, I think, went a big way towards that, because you had 3 main characters, and 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Walton Goggins, I've been watching him since Justified. That man is glorious in everything he's in. Me and Bracken, one of our favorite Christmas movies, watch it every year, is Fat Man. And Walton Goggins is the kind of guy where you say, okay, we need you to play a man who hates Santa Claus and is going to the North Pole to assassinate him, and I need you to play this as seriously as a heart attack. And he did it, and he nailed it, and it is hilarious to watch that movie. He is great in that show. So I was kind of coming into this mostly as a Walton Goggins fan, because I knew he was going to kill it, and he did kill it. But the actress that played Lucy was pleasantly surprised as well, because Lucy was a good character. She wasn't an insufferable girl boss. She made mistakes. She learned from this. She was insufferably naive because that was her environment, and she ended up learning. So when she ended up, having that turn later on, I think it was episode 4 or 5, where she kind of turned it around and kind of, figured out how to adapt in this environment that wants to kill her. It made sense.
The girl boss moment made sense, and it was awesome.
That's Ella Purnell that plays Lucy, and she is fantastic. She was in a show I really liked. I think it's on season 2 now. Yellow Jackets. Yeah, this is one of my favorite shows. She was a character in the first season, and when I saw that she was playing in this, I'm like, that is awesome. She's such a good actor. And in one of the interviews recently, she was talking about how, with these shows like The Last of Us and The Witcher, you get these interviews with the actors, and they're like, oh no, I didn't play the game, or no, I didn't read the book, like I didn't want it to influence me. Ella Purnell's in an interview, and she's like, the first thing I did was go and play Fallout 4. She's like, just so I could understand like what this world is, and understand like why it means so much to the fans. I'm like, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. So good on her.
Yeah, even if you didn't do that, like, at least be smart enough to like just say whatever you got to say, because like I don't know. It really bothers me how in our face they are with it too. It's like,
Yeah,
we don't care about this thing you love.
No,
Tough
yeah.
Tough nuts.
Yeah.
And I was totally ready to. Matter of fact, when the first trailer dropped, I'm like, please don't ruin Fallout for me,
Yeah,
like Wheel of
yeah.
Time did. Like, please do not like fuck up this thing I love. And it was so great to like get through this show and be like John was saying earlier, they really, you could tell that a lot of love went into this. There's a lot of little moments, like even down to the sound effects, like
Yeah.
at the beginning when she got approved for like the marriage license or whatever, there was like a little like Pit Boy like achievement sound that played.
Yup.
And like when she killed something out in the wasteland, there was the little like level up sound from Fallout 4. I'm like, that's so freaking cool. And there's like Grognak the Barbarian comics everywhere.
And the
And
TV
so
show.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so I just I love how much love went into this. And you know, John, you were mentioning that the Friday Night Tights guys were kind of ragging on the show a bit. I watched the Critical Drinker stream where Mahler was going in on this show, and his whole thing was basically like, oh well, like the story starts to fall apart at a certain point, and it's like, yeah, but there's got to be some what's the phrase disbelief,
Mystery?
Yeah.
no, suspension of disbelief is the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And there's got to be some of that. And at the end of the day, I can forgive a lot of story mistakes for having a show that was obviously created with love and not
Yeah.
with animosity
Yes.
towards the fans, because I don't think we get enough of that. You know,
No,
with Rings of
definitely not.
Power and Wheel of Time, I can forgive a lot if they truly love the source material, which I think they did.
Yeah,
I think
and,
so too. And
yeah, go ahead.
I will say the mysteries were built up in a very compelling way. And I don't want to mention my favorite until Bracken comes back in. He's having trouble with his mic over there.
Oh.
So he's going to come back in a second. I noticed something very early on in the first episode, and that was the camera kept an inordinate amount of attention on her little brother and his facial reactions. But he hadn't really done a whole lot then, and it kind of triggered something in my head. I was sitting there thinking, say something, Bracken.
Yo.
Okay, he's back. So
Based.
the last time I remember a piece of media that was focused in on a side character so much was what was it? Hancock with Will Smith. And throughout the movie, they kept focusing on his wife's face. I'm like, why are we bothering with the wife? Why are we paying so much attention to her? And then come to find out she had a bigger role later on in the film. They did that with Norm, the little brother, who wound up being one of my favorite characters in all of this.
Yep.
Norm was this little manlet, this little
He's
short
so
king.
weird.
Yeah, and it's like, why are we paying attention so much to him? And his story was easily my favorite of the entire show, even if I don't feel like the payoff was all that great.
You didn't like that?
Not really.
It was a little, I think it was a little lame compared to the buildup they were doing. They were setting up as some big mystery, and then when they got there, it was just, everybody who worked at Vault Tech is just in cryostasis.
Yeah, me and him were slinging conspiracy theories back and forth after every episode. What is up with Vault 31? Why is Vault 32 all dead? What is Vault 32? Some kind of meat grinder for Vault 31? You know, what are they experimenting? That there was some kind of an experiment going on from Vault 31. Why do we never really see anyone from Vault 31 except for the overseers? And I don't really think we got a really good, satisfying payoff to that. Maybe there's more to it in season 2 because they kind of left our boy hanging.
Yeah, I think Norm's payoff hasn't come off yet. I think that's coming in season 2. They're kind of like, because I noticed even when they flash back to his part of the show, it was just dripped in almost to be like another side, like a side quest almost for the main story that we're following along. So him just discovering the people in cryostasis or on ice or whatever, I figured that's just the beginning of the mystery that we'll see him eventually solve.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't know if he went back into cryostasis, do we?
Did it show that?
no,
I can't.
No,
we
no.
don't.
Right.
I think the
Right.
payoff was lame considering how many other vaults have mysteries that get built up through the quest line of you going there and looking around the remains of what happened. Like example, I think it's New Vegas. They have one where a vault was purposely overcrowded and given a huge stockpile of firearms, right?
Yeah.
But you don't find that when you go in there. It is just littered with skeletons, guns, and weapons everywhere, and you have to eventually find out all that stuff happened. I feel like this didn't have the same build or the same conclusion as it was building up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's usually two results when you discover the mystery of a vault, right? And it's either extremely comically underwhelming or it's extremely unsettling, right?
Unless you're a man in a box of crates.
or
infamous-
what is it? 100 dudes, 200 women, and one really hungry
yeah.
panther.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we have to explain that for Vex because she didn't play those games or probably didn't see those comics. So, for the release of Fallout 3, Vex, there was a couple of Penny Arcade comics that were released in relation to Fallout 3, where they were asked to basically spell out the vault, what the vault's purpose was, which is not necessarily to save mankind, but function also as kind of science experiments as well.
Yeah.
And they detailed a couple of different vaults, and those are the funnier ones where they said is like 30 people and one live panther. One vault with 99 women and one man.
Yeah.
And then, but the one they focused on for several strips was one guy and a box of puppets.
Yeah.
And slowly he went insane over the course of being in there. And then he gets out into the wasteland and basically starts a killing spree. And there are little tidbits throughout New Vegas and 3 that kind of hint that he is out there.
I gotta keep an eye out for this. Okay.
So if the shows are brave enough to actually bring forth a guy with the with puppets or kill people with puppets,
because the idea was that his Vault Boy puppet was convincing him to kill people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
having
yeah.
like a guy running around as like a fight in season 2, a guy with a Vault Boy puppet and like a gun would be extremely entertaining.
Yeah, we know what he looks like too and everything.
yeah. You know what I want to see, and I wanted to see it in here. I was just I knew it wouldn't make sense narratively, and it didn't need to. I wanted the mysterious stranger.
He'll be
yes,
there. Dude.
I just
Misfortune too.
Yeah.
For
Vex's benefit, there's a perk you can get in Fallout called the Mysterious Stranger, where every battle you're in, there's a 3% chance this guy in a trench coat and a fedora will show up while you're shooting at someone and blow them away and one shot kill them.
When you go into VATS.
Yeah. And he'll blow them away with a revolver and then disappear.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's
Yeah.
a huge
also has a
huge mystery
musical
around
cue
it.
whenever
Like
he
people
does
have
it, too.
theorized like crazy around that guy.
Yeah, he's an
I
eldritch
think my
being.
favorite part of the whole Mysterious Stranger
Yeah.
thing is he's not just a game mechanic. He exists in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
In Fallout
Right.
4, you can find a file that Nick Valentine has on him. Like, oh, hey, this guy
Yeah.
has been spotted from one side of the country all the way to the other.
And when you have
in New Vegas.
and when
Yeah.
you have Valentine with you, every time the
Yeah.
mysterious stranger shows
Yes.
up, he runs up and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!"
What
and he's
the
like,
fuck
"Ah,
was
dang
that?
it."
There
Mr.
he
McGinnis.
is,
I
close
missed-
to him.
Yeah, and in New Vegas, there's a lot too. You find some people who may know of him.
Should I spoil the aliens?
Go ahead, yeah.
No.
Yeah, those are
Oh,
canon.
Yeah,
okay.
so
I'm okay with it, yeah.
So it's up to her.
Mile-
yeah.
It's a DLC.
Mildly relating to Fallout 3 and some of New Vegas, you can find aliens in basically every Fallout game. But in 3, I believe if you do the Mothership DLC, that's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. You can find someone I think is related to him because he's a cowboy from like the 19 somethings, and he has the same coded outfit as him. I believe.
Interesting.
Oh.
Interesting.
I'm learning so much tonight.
You can also find a samurai in that DLC that doesn't
Yeah.
speak English.
Yeah, I just wanted this one scene where Lucy's pinned behind something and she's shooting at a guy and then just out of the corner of her eye, guy in a trench coat shoots
so
him,
sick.
and then she looks over and sees him just like very briefly disappear, goes to look for him, and he's nowhere in sight, and never shows up for the rest of the show.
That's brilliant. That'd be so awesome.
That's what I would love to see.
She needs
that
to
would be
have
a cool
enough
element,
luck.
but there were a lot of elements though from the games that I feel like if they only had one chance at one season, really should have shown up. This was a big sticking point with me and Bracken.
But
They did not really go into. They didn't really showcase a lot of monsters. They did
they
one.
had one.
Dude, can you imagine when we get a Deathclaw? Oh my god.
I was waiting for it.
I had the
Red
same nitpick.
Scorpion.
It's kind of
Yeah.
weird that they had one obscure enemy, the mutant axolotl, from what I think is Far Harbor's DLC. But that was
really?
it. That's either from Far Harbor or 76. I don't know which one, but I.
But
do
they kept
know
they
which
kept
one.
using that axolotl, and like it's not that it was bad and a one off, but you know we didn't get a super mutant, we didn't get a
got
death
super mutant,
claw.
That's true.
They even had the setup perfect for a super mutant because there was that video from the Science-y vault, and they're like, "Oh, don't come here. We've made something horrible with technology," and like they were building up to what seemed like a reveal of a super mutant, and there was nothing. It was just the axolotl again.
And
Yeah, Malcolm.
It should have been a Mirelurk in the lake. It should have been a Mirelurk.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what is this thing? Yeah.
That's true.
He had to educate me on what it was. I was like, well, for one, it's gross looking, it's grody, but it looked real squishy. Like, you could have beat it to death with a hammer in Minecraft.
Malcolm has a good point in the chat. He says, I actually like that they didn't blow their load on the creatures this season.
I agree, actually. There's
Yeah.
so much world building and foundation setting that I'm okay that there's still a lot of mysteries that we'll be able to see in later seasons. So I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that as well.
Yeah, because I think
maybe-
there's no way
maybe-
there's no way this show would have ever not gotten a season 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad, it's been approved for a season 2. It's been a huge success, and so I'm really excited to see
they
what
go
they do.
all out for season 2, like completely all out.
Yeah.
My working theory is, okay,
Fallout.
let's say you go out there and you do it, and because money's starting to dry up right now in Hollywood. So there, I wouldn't have been so sure that they would have gotten a season 2 if they only had the one chance to make a live action Fallout TV show.
John, they gave Velma a season 2.
To be fair, it was greenlit.
It was
for
greenlit
2
beforehand.
seasons.
Yeah, that was already in production.
To be fair, Velma does die in the end of it.
Oh,
I know. I saw that. I thought that was so funny.
He gets
Thank
killed by
God.
Scrappy Doo.
Well, good.
The most
Doesn't matter who.
undignified way to go out. Thank goodness.
I can't believe Scrappy Doo got his redemption.
How did she die?
Scrappy Doo killed her.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, that's so
that's
funny.
literally what happens.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm so glad.
Scrappy Doo's redemption arc.
Yeah, dude. For real.
Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on the plot.
What?
Can you hear me?
Your thoughts on the plot?
Oh yeah. On the plot, you mentioned that some people say that it like falls apart, like the FNT guys, right? Yeah. I think first one, it's sort of monetarily incentivized for them to criticize whatever the most popular thing out right now is.
Yeah.
But not only that, I don't think the plot actually did fall apart. There were some questionable plot choices and some immersion-breaking decisions in there that we can talk about all day. As far as the plot goes, though, it was maybe a bit contrived, but that doesn't necessarily mean it fell apart, right? Falling apart means it doesn't make sense and it's just total garbage.
A plot being questionable at best and a plot falling apart are close but not the same.
Right.
Even like the contrived part that you mentioned, again, just the way that they decide to weave the narratives together and even some of the situations that the characters find them in, it very much feels like this is a side quest on a main mission. I'm getting lost in the details of a side quest as opposed to following the main plot. So I was able to pick that up without knowing the game. So I was very disappointed with sometimes
You
they
guys-
give good criticisms,
I'll
right?
be right
But
back.
it's just, I think the moment I heard this show is woke, I'm like, are you fucking retarded? Are you kidding me right now? What is woke
Right.
about this? I have
The-
nothing being shoved
I-
onto me.
I didn't see a whole lot of that. I wasn't a big fan of how like the communism versus capitalism argument
Yeah.
was presented. And for your benefit, Vex, in the games there is anti-capitalist and anti-communist rhetoric from both sides, and
Yeah,
there's
That
all
makes
over the
sense.
place.
a real heavy anti-communist bent, especially with like the Brotherhood of Steel. You have, and my God, I'm not going to say it until Spence gets back what I want to see, but you have a lot of sentiment that's against communists that's not in the show. Other
Or at
other
least not
than
revealed
Walton
yet.
Goggins, other than Walton Goggins, saying that the generalized consensus is that if you're open communist, you're cutting your own throat as far as your career goes.
Yeah.
And I will say this also on top of that Walton Goggins thing. When there is a scene where they actually let the conservative debate the communist, right?
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is he presents a point, and she does not present a counterpoint.
Yes.
Her counterpoint is literally, well, that's just a bad word. And then she walks away. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, at least you didn't try to defend it anymore because he's right. You know what I mean?
There was even another scene. It was in like episode 2 or episode 3 where you see a flashback where he's on the set of the Western where we get the infamous line, right?
Yeah.
I can't speak Mexican. Okay, my bad. So,
But you're
even then,
brown.
I'm not that kind of brown. But like the producer pulls him aside and it's just like, yeah, Bob was a communist. It's like Cadillac Bob. I was like, oh, that's fun. I like that,
Cadillac.
right? But it's like the
Champagne
show,
socialist.
right?
He probably
the
wasn't
show-
a communist, right? He probably
exact
wasn't.
Cadillac Bob, right? So that's why the
Yeah.
show even pokes fun at communists, and that seems to be an angle that's also completely missed by a lot of the people that are harping on this unnecessarily. It's you didn't pay attention to any details. You were looking for issues instead of just looking at the show. As a whole.
Yeah.
I think
You'll
so
find
too.
problems if all you look for is problems, you know?
And we can talk about real problems.
The phrase you're looking for is when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the real problems that are there. Like there is contrived things. There is one woke thing, if we were going to, for lack of a better term, that I can point out, which is also that one particular thing is actually multiple categories of you fucked up, because
The tranny, right?
Yes, I solved the problem with you don't even fire that actor. You don't. You just switch roles with a different person that we saw, and that's the crazy
agreed.
doctor. The crazy doctor, because now it makes sense. Now it all makes sense, and I bet that actress or actor could just destroy. They would just dominate that role. Actually, just be a crazy doctor that is obsessed with like chems, and you figured out how to change your biology to heal. Whoa,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That would be
That's
interesting.
actually awesome.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
didn't-
necessary. I mean, even in Fallout lore, that's not necessarily impossible either. Like, there's people who
Right.
like chop off their limbs and attach different limbs and
Yep.
whatnot.
Well, we
And
saw that
there's-
happen in the show. So
and
Yeah,
there's
there's
this
people
solar-
who straight up put their brains in machines, like the little Roomba we saw in the last episode.
Dude, that episode where she gets like where Walton Goggins takes her to the place where they're like harvesting organs and stuff. That episode was
awesome.
so awesome, dude. I love that because
in
you're
fact,
like,
that
was
what's
so
gonna happen
creepy.
to her? And then the robot is like fixing her up and like
By the
treating
way,
her
Excuse me,
nice.
Barry as a-
the Matt Berry robot.
Yeah, Matt Berry,
Yep.
Mr. Handy.
Yeah.
And he's
I
like,
mean,
he's like,
perfect
I'm not gonna
casting.
kill you. I'm gonna harvest your organs. It's
And then
like,
the music.
holy shit.
you're gonna
Cue
go
the
to live
music.
on in someone
By the way.
else.
By the way, when I was watching the show, that episode where she had to fight her way out of the that organ harvesting place was when
so
I
good.
first thought this show is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
like
when it picked up.
releasing all the mutants, like not knowing that they're super dangerous, and the guys on the couch are like, wait, you don't want to do that, and she's like, I do want to do that. Release all of them, motherfuckers.
And then the feral ghouls go and attack them.
Oh god, it's so good. Oh, it's so.
I
Can we
wonder
talk
how
about
m-
the gore? Can we talk about the gore in
Yeah,
this show?
okay, well,
Loved it.
one thing.
Good.
first
Good boy.
episode, for some reason, only the first episode had like weird red mist special effects, but everything else looked practical. I don't know what
Dude.
was up with that, but
The first
gore
episode
being
is
practical.
Yeah, the whole scene that goes down at the wedding reception, I think that's the first episode is the weakest to me, just objectively,
Sure.
because it makes a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
a lot of
I agree.
errors that it shouldn't. And the way that they just kind of like drew out the whole wedding scene too was very awkward. The
Yeah.
action didn't make sense. The cuts didn't make sense.
I
The
also
blood spatter
think
didn't
the,
make sense. You
I
know, like
also think Moldaver's like, oh, either we take your dad or we take everyone else was kind of a weak excuse.
Yeah, it was
Right.
weird.
Well, that wasn't even the way they presented it. They presented it was, you got to pick her or them. And he says, okay, I'll go with you. And I was under the impression that he was one of the side or the other was going to die, but she takes him and then just sets off the bomb, which the way they presented the bomb made it seem like they were going to get like caved in or kill
Yeah,
everybody.
it
And
was
then just
right.
kind of like it scratched up the door, basically.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
The
collapse tunnel.
first
To be fair, that's accurate to Fallout. You can shoot a mini nuke indoors and it won't even scratch the floor.
I think it's
Huh.
more just the delivery, right? It came off as like there was
Yeah.
supposed to be something a lot bigger that was going to happen, but she just
Yeah.
let the
Yeah.
hostages go anyways.
Yeah.
Another big issue I just have with that entire opening scene is like they don't find out they're raiders until like Lucy puts on her Pip-Boy and the radiation meter starts going off. It's just
How
like you're
come the
all
people
wearing
with
these
Pip-Boy?
though, and it
Yeah.
would have picked up on the radiation when you
You
first
think-
came into
yeah,
contact.
somebody
You
would
think,
have.
the, you think the
Yeah.
pit bulls would be automatically set to
I
detect
also gotta
radiation?
ask, what was
Right.
the point of like posing as vault dwellers for as long as they did? All they needed to do was get in and then attack people. That's their whole goal.
Right.
Yeah. That was the
Yeah.
other, and then how long had they also been in that other vault, and how
Yeah,
did they
because the
have
other people were
access to?
skeletons.
Yeah, how did they have
Yeah.
access to all the communication and stuff in order to?
How do they
like,
even know
talk
how to work any of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Moldaver probably.
So it's
Although-
just like that. Little things like that make it the weakest episode because it just leans into like this
Yeah.
needs to happen in order for the plot to keep going.
Yeah,
I
there was a
think-
couple
Yep.
things like that. And you know,
I-
I will. I want to say my favorite, or least favorite, however you want to say it, discrepancy in the plot is in that fight in episode 2 is probably the worst part of the show. You
The
know,
gunfight in
the
in Philly.
gunfight, the gunfight
Okay.
in Philly. It's kind of
What?
wonky, and him flying around in the suit looks. It don't.
Oh
look
yeah. Yeah. I
Oh,
agree.
okay, yeah.
But
yeah.
remember,
the
Walton
initial
Goggins
part of it
sat
was
there.
sick, though.
Walton
Yeah.
Goggins sat there and he was mag dumping at Maximus in that armor.
Mhm.
Then we fast forward to the last episode,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, that I remember that power armor's an exploit still there," and he's one-shotting power armor
Yep.
in the
Yup.
dark.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
was he
Super
not doing that
weird.
in episode 2?
Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, welcome to the first real problem with the show. This is a contrivance. This is a
Plot
contrivance.
convenience.
And
and
I should
another
say
thing
the
about-
second one because we mentioned the actor. But yeah.
To counterpoint the complaints, I do have one positive about episode 1 though. The Raiders, I love them
So
because
good.
Yes.
they acted exactly like actual
Yeah.
Raiders in the game.
dude.
They ran
And they're-
towards you expecting no bullets to be shot straight through their skull.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yup,
because
with
in the
the jet.
games, them Raiders run straight at you. No
Yeah.
self-preservation. You know, not that they have a death wish. It's just they are extremely stupid.
There's
They
Yeah.
are.
yeah.
Actual representation. Look, the best casting in this show, though, bar none, Michael Rappaport. They got him
Oh.
to play an irritable, unlikable asshole who
Yeah.
then gets
Oh,
mauled
yeah.
to death by a mutant bear. Loved it.
Yeah. Dude, that was
I hate that
fantastic.
guy.
I was laughing. I was
They
laughing
got
the
him to
entire
play
time.
himself.
Who? Yeah. Who is?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is that guy? Because I don't know who Michael Rappaport
Yeah,
is.
he's that loudmouth actor who always shoots his mouth off on social media and never shuts up.
Oh, okay.
And
Huh.
you listen to him for 30 seconds, you'll hate his guts. Believe me.
What else was he in?
He's been in a couple of other things. Although interesting little tie-in though. His nickname was Titus, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people might not remember this. Way back in the late 90s, there was a sitcom based around that a comedian named Christopher Titus, and that was the name of the show, Titus.
Yep.
Michael Rappaport was in that show.
It was a good show. That's the first time I saw him.
Huh.
He seemed based back then.
I don't know what
They
he's
all
doing
did
lately.
back then. To be
Yeah,
fair.
a lot of them. We got sold a lot of people who had a lot of opinions. But anyway, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah.
Fallout.
Keep it on Fallout.
It was. Fun.
I've been. Hold on, real quick. I've been joking on social media that wasn't even in the show. Michael Rappaport just wandered on set and started messing around with the props, and then was attacked by a pit bull.
Yeah, dude.
And they just decided to film it and put it and leave it in the show.
Yeah, and those threats were real threats that he was telling to the camera guy. He's like, "Why you just recording me? I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna kill you as soon as you heal me, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Just wait till I'm healed and not dead. I'm gonna kick you."
You know what they do to guys like you in the Film Actor Guild Awards? You know what they do to guys like you?
Oh, and while we're on the
Great.
scene where he gets mauled by a bear, I find it strange that a guy in full power armor can't take on a Yao Guai.
Start punching it, dude.
Right?
Dude, you're wearing armor, full body armor.
So this
I
was
think
like
that
another.
just speaks. I think that just speaks to like how incompetent the Brotherhood of Steel is like meant to be.
Yeah,
Is like these guys, they get like leveled up or like promoted to these levels of such a high place in the Brotherhood, but they're not like ready for it in any way,
Yes.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
And sorry,
Whoa,
Vex,
whoa,
I
whoa.
didn't mean to cut you
Oh
off.
no, you're good. You're good. No, I was literally gonna say the exact same thing. I know a lot of people complain that like Maximus and the Brotherhood plotline is the weakest. I mean, objectively, it is the weakest of the three because the other two are far more interesting to watch on screen. But Maximus as a character and his choices, and even the Brotherhood's choices, they all just come across as people that were raised in a cult mentality and they don't know any better. So like even the joke where Lucy like propositions Max for sex, right? And he's just like, no, like that's not something we're supposed. Like immediately, I was just like, this is what like people who are brainwashed think. Like they don't even understand kind of basic functions. And that was the point. And people seem to think that that's meant to be like a moment where Lucy is supposed to overpower his masculinity in some way or be the kind of the girl bossy one in that relationship. But again, Lucy's the same way. Instead, she's been brainwashed that all she needs to do is procreate, keep the bloodline going, get the best of the best out there. That's introduced in the first minute that we meet Lucy in the show. So like I actually was quite fine with Maximus as a storyline just because I understand where he's coming from and it works within the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a couple things about that. Hold on. I have a couple things on that. First off, Maximus was not masculine in the first place to everyone who's wondering.
Yes.
Second off, I feel like after that scene, he started to act and talk like he had mild brain damage.
I was kind of wondering.
beaten.
I
Yeah,
was
being
kind of
twice,
wondering
that was-
if, I was kind of wondering if Maximus was low key their attempt to try and write somebody who was deeply autistic.
Right.
Just his inability to understand what people were around him were. He couldn't read the room everywhere he went.
True.
Right.
You know what
True.
I attributed that to after I started. So when you start New Vegas, maybe it's in the other Fallouts too, forgive me, but you can choose like some traits that you want your character to have. And I know that one of the traits was like you have like more suave in conversations. So after I saw that, I was like, oh, maybe Maximus just doesn't have that suave skill. So he fucks up in every situation he's in.
It's just awkward.
Right.
There were
But
definitely
here's-
elements in the show where I attributed it to they were basically presenting a scene of the games that was playing out based on how the character stats were, because the characters in the show have actual stats.
Yeah, they released those a while ago.
Yeah, they released them last week, and
Really?
like
I
in
didn't see
episode
this.
2 when she's confronting the ghoul and Maximus and the guy that the ghoul's threatening. And she's trying to de-escalate the situation, going. I understand this is a tense situation, and we should all do. I was attributing that to a failure of a speech check, that she was trying and failing to speech checks. I mean, she didn't have enough points in her speech to de-escalate the situation.
Oh, okay.
You got it. That's what it comes down to a lot with a lot of the I'll say a little bit more off-putting choices that they made with the world building and the writing, because like for example, at first I could not wrap my head around the bulletproof ghoul. because he's not sticking himself with stim packs, and he would be breaking his own rules if stim packs even worked on him at all, because that's
Okay.
one drop in a pool of a lot of drugs, right?
Mhm.
That he says
Yeah.
himself. So basically, when I did my research, I found out there's multiple ways that you can get that actually in the game.
Interesting.
My current playthrough, I'm basically doing a samurai version of him, where I walk around, I'm an asshole cannibal, but I have a healing factor. So I looked up all the ways you can get a healing factor in the game. One of them is being a cannibal. Guess what? Guess what that character is?
Yeah.
You can heal from eating human meat. So there's also the solar powered perk. It was daytime. He could be solar powered for all we know. There's implants you can get that give you straight up healing factor. There's like 2 more perks that are even better too. That give you this. But my point kind of stands here. Like, that doesn't even count like maybe a magic item or something, like some sort of thing they found. Plus there's the wonder drug that all the ghouls are taking now. They invented a new ghoul drug or whatever.
Yeah.
Ghouls back in my day didn't need drugs to stay alive.
Right.
Back in your day.
But the ghouls are not actually bulletproof by nature, because he literally just smokes the other ghoul and then carves off a piece of ass jerky.
Well, like with the
Yeah.
other ghouls that we encounter, though, those are so the way I figure it's just zombie logic for basically anything, right? So all the other ghouls that he shoots, they're all shot in the head and they go down. That happens when Lucy's in the mini mart or the super mart or whatever. She goes for the headshot; they don't go down otherwise. They never try to shoot Walton Goggins in the head, though. So that's just how
Right.
the logic made sense to me that way. So that's another nitpick I've heard people make, but I'm just like, bro, have you watched literally anything in the last 50 years? That's pretty
Right.
consistent in all undead logic
Yeah.
in entertainment.
Something funny I noticed is that little mini mart was called the Super Duper Mart, right?
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
There's a exact same branded supermarket in Fallout 4, and that place is filled to the brim with high-level ghouls.
Yeah.
And I thought that was
Oh.
funny because that one in the show had all of them caged up and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Red Rocket truck stop?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I was
And
waiting for it the
he
whole
puts
time,
dog meat in the box, and that's where you meet dog meat in Fallout 4. I'm like, it's so cool. I love it.
That was a nice little nod.
No offense
was-
to dog meat lovers, but he is one of the worst companions in the franchise.
Oh yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. Yeah.
True.
I did want to ask. So ghouls, for those of you who know a lot about Fallout lore, what's up with the ghoul drug in this show? Because I don't remember that being in the
I
game.
think it's a
Is
show
that in the game?
exclusive thing.
It's not in the game.
That's
Okay.
a new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they said
I
that they
figured.
announced
Yeah,
it as
because
a new thing.
I think the way ghouls work in the game
Thank you,
is
that's us.
depending on how much radiation you get, you turn into either feral or regular.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
you
it's
don't-
very much luck of the draw kind of thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you don't turn into a feral ghoul the longer you're a ghoul.
No,
you're
no,
just
I think that's
depends on
okay.
how much radiation you get.
Okay.
But I think actually there is evidence to suggest that over time you can go feral.
Yeah, I think
There's
you can
actual-
slowly lose
there's-
yourself. In
There's
being
multiple,
feral.
there's multiple sources of that.
It-
So
it
what
would've
they've
been-
done is they've invented a drug that staves that off, because now they
Right.
have a main character who's
You
also
need a
the
device
Vault
for
Boy.
it.
Yeah, the Vault
Yeah.
Boy's a ghoul, so you need to keep him going.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it was a cool little touch to make him essentially the model for the Vault Boy.
Yes.
That was a nice little addition to the lore. I think that he has to have this drug to stay feral. But my question is this: what was he doing when he was in the casket? Did they ever explain why he was
I
in
didn't
the
like
casket
that.
to begin with?
I didn't like
I
that.
think that IV pack was full of the stuff and hooked up to him, but why did he need to be buried though?
My
They
thought was
wanted
that
the visual
somebody
of having
buried
to
him.
I think they just wanted the visual of digging him up out of the grave.
Yeah.
But they couldn't.
It's
They didn't want to
symbolism.
bother with they didn't want to bother with coming up with a logical explanation as to why he was there and why he was okay when he emerged.
Maybe
No,
they didn't
I
take that.
figured he had pissed somebody off and they buried him, knocked him out and
Yeah, that could
buried
also
him.
be true.
Well,
So-
they
Okay.
There's
in
a
the-
lot of gang mafia activity in most Fallout games.
Tunnel
Right.
Snakes
Yeah,
rule.
Especially in New Vegas and 4. In fact,
in the. Sorry.
you're saying?
Oh no, sorry. Finish your thought.
In fact, in 4, you end up having to kill off a small vault mafia, and they do stuff like that against people they don't like. Because I think if you swim near Diamond City, there's multiple corpses stuck under the river that were tied to bricks. Thus, showing off their mafia activities.
Yeah, dude.
The boss says you're going in to drink.
And somebody actually probably says that in the game, but
Yeah, there was a bit of conversation when they dig him up, like that whoever had a hold of him at the time, people just kept burying him and bringing him back, and you even see like the little baggies of like yellow, I don't know, juice or whatever, serum, right?
I think that's Radaway.
Yeah, there you go, like tied in there as well, right? But this is also one of those things where it's not fully explained to us. We'll definitely, because we don't know his even full story, right? Like we know somewhere between what happens in episode 8 and where we see him in episode 1, his wife leaves him. So there's still a lot to his backstory that is explained. So I can forgive that.
I can too. And here's the other thing. It's also a nod to a very particular special ghoul that appears in the game. I believe his name is Billy the Boy Ghoul. And
Billy the kid in the fridge.
Billy the kid in the fridge. Yep. So
that's the name of the quest.
Yep, and that's the name of the ghoul. He's literally a little boy that was stuck in a fridge this entire time.
Yeah.
And you're the person who releases him, and he's like, oh, he's talking about his eyes.
Oh,
and,
he even looks like a tiny ghoul.
Yep. and basically what he demonstrates in the Fallout canon is, yes, ghouls don't need to eat or drink. That's actually kind of an illusion. They probably are suffering really bad, but you can lock them in a fridge or bury them.
But they don't need it.
Right. And so that kind of tells me that the cannibalism actually is probably part of the thing going on with his healing factor. Definitely.
Oh, and I saw somebody brought up that in the quest line, you can either bring him back to his parents or sell him into slavery, which is true. Great. You can do that.
Yep.
Although the coolest part about that is Fallout 4 doesn't have the same karma thing that New Vegas and 3 has. So doing that, no one cares.
No one cares. Yeah, they're like, morality doesn't exist in this game.
Yeah,
I like the karma. I like the karma.
Yeah, the karma really changes up the game because it forces you to do one or the other because it can change things in the future.
Yep. And it affects the ending and stuff. Yep.
Yeah, it affects the ending.
And plus, it just feels bad when you steal something and it's like, you got bad karma.
Especially when you nuke Megaton.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's not really a spoiler, Vex. You have the option to do that if you want to or not. If you do, like, you're vilified. If you don't,
I've already encountered like the karma thing in New Vegas, and it's changed the way I played a little bit, so it's all good.
I'm glad you picked New Vegas. That's a good choice.
It's not in 4 though, because there's some horrible things you can do in 4 that give you no repercussions.
Yeah. There's like no consequences at all in 4.
Yeah, you got to keep that, man. You got to keep.
I don't even think 76 got it, although I wouldn't know because 76 is the one I know the least about. Mostly because I was really mad at it when it came out.
76 is largely hated by fans.
Yeah, I was.
It has fans.
I rather just that Fallout Shelter and Fallout Brotherhood are canon than 76.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I might be the only one on the panel that will say this, but when it comes to the Fallout games, one that I played a lot of and actually enjoyed was the mobile Fallout game, Fallout Shelter.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, a lot of people like that.
That was one of the better mobile games. Like, it was not egregious in that it was pay to win. You could definitely just grind it out. It was nice to be, it was nice that, like, oh, if I want a Mr. Handy, I can buy it for $1 or, you will probably never get all the rare characters for the vault, but building your own vault and everything, the side mission, there was a lot of content for a free game.
Yeah, dude.
This is free?
It is free on your phone.
They kept it updated for a while.
Yeah. You can play it on your. You can download it for Steam, I think, for free as well.
I'm installing it right now on my phone.
It's like a vault life simulator.
Careful, it's addicting, and you end up getting into. Developing your upgrading your vaults up enough, and then you end up getting raided by like raiders and later Deathclaws, and you end up losing all your people. You can have your you end up making more Fallout dwellers by. Literally shipping your male and female characters together. And it's
That's funny.
It is strangely addicting. I played it for a while, but I kind of got over it. Then you have to babysit, like you can send people into the wasteland on missions and then play through a whole building, and for extra loot, weapons, and extra characters, stuff like that, and then send them back. And it'll take time and like real hours. God, I love that game. I really did.
Yeah, it was good. They do good, man, most of the time.
You know what? I might just re-download it.
John's like, I'm talking myself back into it.
Right. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah, another going back to the show and vaults and whatnot.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the show.
Found through falling into a chute in a hospital or vault tech or whatever. That was, I would say, the dumbest way to ever get into a vault.
Yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure it was more for like human sacrifices and like integrating people from the wasteland into the vault. I think it's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
I thought Can someone explain this vault?
Let me pitch you this. Imagine that the door got left open one day and a legendary Deathclaw wanders in and falls down the chute. What are you gonna do?
That's true. Yeah, they're fucked to them. But in Fallout fashion, that probably would happen.
Right.
It probably would happen. Yeah. And then they would all get slaughtered, and you'd find it after the fact with a single Deathclaw trapped in there.
100 people and one Deathclaw.
Yeah.
I did not understand this episode at all. So they fall into the chute, and they see all these people are mutated and stuff, and then there's this weird like ritual that's happening at the end.
Yeah.
And then
Moldaver for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason. This was like the episode. I liked the idea of the vault because it showed the regular viewers that the vaults are like human experiments. That's like what the vaults are, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I like that it gets the point across in that way. But I was like, wait, so are these bad guys or are they not? Like it didn't. Like I was so confused on what their purpose was or how they're.
I think just in general, like Moldaver and any kind of people they came across just weren't really good bad guys. Considering Fallout's history with bad guys, like Frank, what's his name, and like Mr. House and all that, like their history with bad guys, this was kind of underwhelming.
And in the end, they tried to make it seem like, oh yeah, she did bad things, but it was for an altruistic reason, providing power to what remains of Shandy Sales or Sandy Shales, whatever it's called. Shady Sand, whatever. I know it means a lot more to people who played the first Fallout game, but I didn't play it, so it's not ingrained in my memory. And it kind of they kind of gave her the why she kept her mom around was
that's not explained, which is weird.
Yeah, what was that? Like for the whole reveal, it's like why would you?
Shout outs to Bad Sauce.
She literally kept someone. She literally kept a half decomposed ghoul in a chair for like 20 years just to do a reveal.
It's
and
implying.
Then die.
It's implying that they did this. They did this together.
Is it?
Yeah, it's implying that
I didn't think it was like that at all.
That's what some people interpret it, but I didn't see it. Bad Sauce, my co-host for Iron Seas, kind of mentioned that. I was like, that
gotcha.
That's fair, but I didn't see it. But
yeah,
I don't know why they
didn't see
would.
it either.
I don't know why they
like.
would.
I would like make that more of like a sister thing because even in the flashbacks, when you look at Lucy's mom, her and Moldover could easily be sisters. Like same dark hair, the bit of an olive skin tone. Like even the way Moldover talks about Lucy's mom, it's not in a romantic way. Like you don't feel like there's some sort of like lost longing or anything like that. Versus when Hank was talking about her.
Very true.
So, I had a problem at the finale where she was telling Lucy, hold on, listen to me. Do you want to know what your father's really done? When you think about that from Lucy's perspective, she had absolutely zero reason to pause and let Moldaver explain herself in a villain monologue. It's like, you came into my vault. You killed the people that I live with. You kidnapped my father. You've sent people hunting me across the wasteland. No, it's Big Iron time.
Borderline R-worded her.
Yeah.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Yep. Borderline. Just saying.
Yeah. It's I did not Lucy should not have given her the chance to do that. She should have. They should have subverted our expectations and had her go big iron on Moldaver and rescue her dad.
That's payoff too, John.
It's
because
kind of, you know what it's
the
kind of
ghoul.
like? It's kind of like the
Because the ghoul.
situation with Benny in New Vegas, because you don't have to kill him when you first find him, but most people do.
Yeah.
I was looking for that clip. There's a clip of I can't find it. Somebody did a really good edit on New Vegas of when you finally catch back up with Benny in New Vegas, and it's that clip from American Psycho where he's walking down the hallway with the blank stare on his face really quickly, and Benny's like, "We're gonna have a problem," and it cuts to Patrick Bateman chopping him with an axe.
Yeah, dude.
You know, going on that rant.
That's
It was hilarious. I did find out one I want to share. I thought we could get a good laugh at this. I hope this won't give me a strike or something, but this is too funny not to play on stream since we're talking about
And real
we're
quick,
talking about
Bracken.
this is one of my favorite edits here of The Sopranos in New Vegas.
Oh,
Yep.
these are so funny.
Still look forward to working with you, John. I mean that.
The subtitles.
Fucking Christ.
I like the sound edits.
Dude, these edits are so good.
Right. Dude, for real.
They're so
For real.
good.
For real.
Oh wow.
What?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get hit so hard. I'm gonna get hit so hard on that stream. I'm gonna have to I'll have to cut that out later.
If you go
What the
into YouTube, it gives you the option to
mute it.
Well, it would actually keep all the sound effects and talking too. So it only mutes the music. It's smart enough to do that now. It's pretty crazy.
Oh.
And
Wow.
while I'm able to talk here for a second, Bracken,
No.
Bracken, have you ever tried to keep Benny alive? Because you know what happens.
Yeah, I've tried.
Yeah, he just jumps you anyway. He just thinks
Yeah,
he's
you want to kill him either way.
yeah. Just kill him and eat him. That's the ultimate revenge. That's how you do it. Assert your dominance.
Cannibalize him.
Yeah.
We didn't get a Benny equivalent. That would be a great way to start like season 2. Have like a Benny equivalent of some kind. Shoot Lucy in the head in Minecraft.
Yeah.
And have her survive it. Which I'm in the medical field. You would be surprised how much trauma. Yeah, how much trauma the human body can endure and still survive.
Think about this. In the Fallout show and in all of Fallout, that scribe, he broke his foot like completely open. Like it was gored to pieces. He used a stim pack, just all better.
Yep.
Frankly,
I mean-
I wish they did was have Lucy or someone like have their leg get snapped in half, and then they'll go take a nap, wake up, oh, it's all better.
Oh, that would be crazy. I don't know.
Wake up fully healed from an 8-hour nap.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I
man.
did
The ghoul.
love the use of stim packs in the show.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah, it
oh
was
man,
great.
that's so cool.
They did
'cause-
perfectly.
Yeah.
The Pip-Boy was really well integrated as well. That was a lot of
Great,
good touches
so
there.
Good.
I was really wanting this one moment where she like lays down on a mattress or something and then drifts off and like the Pip-Boy wakes her up and
Yeah.
it says you cannot sleep when there are enemies nearby. Like,
Oh yeah.
that would have been a
That'd
nice
be
touch,
sick.
but how would it know there's enemies nearby?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Oh, maybe
I mean,
before
it
she
has
goes
a
to bed.
map.
She,
I
well,
mean,
like
it has
maybe
a map, so it's not bold. It's not too bold to assume that it would have a radar.
That's what I'm saying. Like a heartbeat sensor.
Yeah,
know, a
something
heartbeat
like that.
And she sets it before she goes to bed for that reason. Like
Oh, okay. Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be crazy.
And that would have been a cool little touch. And then they look, to be fair, they added a lot of not really nice touches
Yeah.
to the show. There are no complaints on that part.
Right.
You know, most of the Go ahead.
All the costumes were perfect. Like whoever
Yeah.
did the costume designing did a
Yes.
really, really good job.
Yeah.
And like the little settlements and stuff, like when she's walking out of
Yeah.
the mall and that guy is like, "Hey, why don't you like just stay with me and like marry me and you can have this after I'm gone or whatever. Like that like first of all, that situation is very Fallout,
It
but
is.
also like
Yeah.
the little settlement he was at, I'm like, oh man, this totally looks like something that you would like stumble across and loot the hell out of
Yep.
in one of the Fallout games. It's
They looked at Megaton, actually. They just looked at Megaton and a couple other settlements, and they made their own.
I mean, to be fair, you don't need to look many other places. Megaton's like
Right.
the prime example.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the best. Yeah.
I think they had specifically Megaton and Diamond City because I saw
I
a
was
lot
about
of
to say,
areas
yeah.
that looked like Diamond City.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that ship. Oh man, so cool. The idea of an
Rivet
aircraft.
City?
Rivet
That was
City,
a-
yeah,
Rivet City.
sorry.
That was that was a pretty cool place. And there is, hey, they Vex is right. They've got stuff left for season 2 that they could introduce. I mean, look, they never touched on in any way, shape, or form synths, which exist in
Yeah.
Fallout.
Any
I
of the
hope they
characters could be
don't.
one right now.
Personally,
Yeah.
I kinda
That would be
hope they
cool.
don't. Although it
That's
would
what I
explain
thought
why
the guy
Maximus
was. The head that she was escorting, I thought he was a synth, and then
I
it
thought
turned
so,
out that
too.
he just had the thing.
That would have
Although-
been that would
You
have
know
been
what I
funny because
think-
then he could have been like talking still and like
Oh yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
find funny about that whole head thing? The dude technically had a nuclear reactor in his neck. The whole
Right.
time.
I got a
Imagine
story.
if that got shot, everyone
Oh,
was
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Because you actually steal one of those in Fallout 4 at Mass Fusion, that building,
Yep.
and like that thing is radioactive as hell.
And
Like you get
that-
up to 50 rads a second being near it.
Oh yeah. Well, this cold fusion is what's in. It's actually a smaller version, so people can still fairly criticize the size of the cold fusion cell, but it's a smaller version of what's in many of the vaults called a GECK, GECK,
Oh,
Garden of Eden
it's a
Creation
smaller
Kit.
version of that.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah, I thought it was just like a straight up power core, but smaller.
So you can criticize the size 100%, but it is a canon thing that is just slightly bigger in the video games.
Yeah.
So and since this takes place after all the video games, like 30 years or something, right? That means the Enclave
Does this
has had
take place
time.
after Fallout 4?
Yeah. I don't know
I think-
actually.
I
When
think
does
they've
it-
said
Yeah,
that
I
this
thought it
is
takes
this is
place
canon
after
to
all of the games.
Yeah, I think this is
I-
all canon to a lot
I
of
thought it was in between Vegas and 4.
No, I don't think so.
Nah,
I know
what
it's
I've heard.
30 years before Vegas. That's the only detail I know.
Before.
No, it's after
Before.
Vegas.
After.
Yeah, after.
I was
Oh,
gonna
it's
say
after?
before the,
Yep,
the
yep.
NCR is in New Vegas.
Yep.
Oh, speaking
Yeah,
of
they're
NCR,
near the Fallout New Vegas. So like, I imagine that they were gonna go there. Didn't somebody say they nuked the strip or something?
No,
Or was that revealed in the or was
I
it?
think
They
it was
nuked
because
Shady
Shady
Sands.
Sands.
Okay.
Yeah, and the
Yeah, yeah.
NCR was like HQ'd there.
Yeah, that used to be
Speaking
called
of-
just NCR, and then they named it
Yeah,
Shady
speaking
Sands.
of the NCR, I know it's not a big deal, and it probably might get fixed in the future. But the NCR armor they showed off, the forehead was just slightly too big on the helmet,
Yeah.
just slightly.
Oh yeah.
And it really bugged me because, like, I'm so used to seeing the regular NCR look that the mild change was really weird to see.
Right. Yeah, so that Shady Sands thing kind of implies that the NCR became big enough after the events of New Vegas that they were able to have this flourishing capital with
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people in it. So that kind of tells you kind of how the ending of New Vegas may have turned out for the show timeline, or actually the
Right.
canon timeline.
So that would mean NCR was the canon ending to New Vegas.
They at best. So either somebody took control, because I'm looking at I did a little research in the endings of New Vegas, right? And
Yeah.
so either somebody took control of all the robots and did an independent New Vegas ending, which best case scenario for the NCR in that case is they didn't get nuked and there was a peace treaty and they just kind of backed off, right? That's the best case scenario in that case. If you side with the NCR, then like all the other factions get just messed up completely. They annex everything and do whatever they want. Like there's actually this happened to me twice. The NCR has a history of just killing hostages, Yeah, on the wiki it says that they inherited the beliefs of the American government and like democracy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they very much just kind of say that and just kind of show up with enough guns for you to not question anything that happens. And they're like, okay, let's talk about annexation. And they just kind of muscle you out of it anyway. Long story short, they are a warlord cult like everybody else. And in my research, I don't feel bad for them getting nuked. And that actually could have just been one of the endings of New Vegas. Actually,
It might have actually been a good thing in some senses.
Yeah, get them down, knock them down a peg a little bit
And
because
it's
they're
not
not
like
gone.
It's not like that's the only villain material we could have for a season 2. Like I said, they mentioned the Enclave. The Enclave is perfect for a villain to the series.
Always.
There you could, I don't know, if you side with like the NCR and whatnot, don't the Legion, Caesar's Legion, get killed off?
I don't know. No matter what, I don't think there's. Well, actually, there is a way you can disband the Caesar's Legion.
I ask because Caesar's Legion could also be a good villain for season 2.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm really hoping, actually, slavers. Let's go, man. Let's go to war in Fallout over with some slavers and like throw the remnant NCR in there too.
Fun Fallout fact. The leader of Caesar's Legion actually has a lower intelligence stat than a mole rat.
Oh.
Doesn't he like look and sound? Doesn't he like look and sound really badass though? If I remember right, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
but he has like severe brain damage.
Yeah,
I believe.
I bet. I bet.
I haven't played that. I haven't played that far. I should probably reinstall Fallout New Vegas because as much as I played Fallout 3, New Vegas when it came out on the 360 was a buggy, borderline unplayable mess. I know it's better now. But back then, a lot of people were like, this is great when it actually works.
They really wanted it to be.
Yeah. And so I kind of didn't catch up. And I had other stuff I was playing at the time. But I would love, there was a lot of good threads that were open-ended going into a season 2. Although I will say one thing about this season. Anytime the issue of sex is brought up, it's like the cringiest scene.
Yeah.
Especially in episode 1.
Agreed.
Oh, I have a thought on that. It actually ties into what Vex was saying earlier about. I'm really glad you brought this up too, Vex. It's such a strong thing to remember because the show, at least part of it, I suspect they broke the themes into 3 parts, just like they broke the protagonists into 3 parts. But one of the main core themes was examining cults.
Yes.
First off, super based for them to do that right now in our political climate because everybody's accusing everybody else of being in a cult. Second, and they even have that in the show too. He says, "You sound like you're in a cult," and it's from a conservative to the dude who's claiming he's not a communist. So like. A part of it is an examination on cults. That's where Vault 4 comes into play too, because what they are like, are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Well, the truth is they're both. They're innocent, misguided people that are kind of doing questionable things, but at least they lean towards good. But at the same time, they're a cult and they're doing cult things. It's a cult, and cults form up in the aftermath of devastating things like the nuclear thing because it's just like world changing to these people because they're like tribal, so
right.
That's how you get Moldaver incorporated in there. She's like their Satan figure, I'm assuming. I don't think they were necessarily worshiping her. They called her like the mother of fire, and she even walks around and says everybody knows my name, just super menacingly and stuff like that. But yeah,
that line wasn't earned. I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't. I digress though. Examining cults, that was a core theme of this season, and I really appreciated it. Another one is corruption.
Yeah,
and and the culture of the vaults themselves.
Yeah,
just this very upbeat, naive, kind of no negative views allowed kind of cultures that they have. Like in that right there is something that you can go on social media and see that today, because I can think of off the top of my head several creators and people that I know that are in my orbit that I know of that that's their mindset that they present on social media is, guys, no negativity, just all positive, because you are you are what the The world is what you make. And all this
Also-
kind of, it's what I call toxic positivity, trying to force being positive all the time and never say anything negative.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
that's not the way the world works, and that's not how people work. And so you could see that her brother Norm straining against that mentality.
Exactly.
He was getting, suspicious. I am who I am on social media because it is. You can ask Bracken. How I am on stream is exactly how I am in real life. Sometimes you just need to bust out an F-bomb every now and then because that's the situation that you're in, and I can't. I'm not perfect. And I'm not going to pretend to be perfect for an audience. Okay, That's why I lean into the whole "I'm an asshole" thing online because, it's just who I am, and having a self-deprecating sense of humor helps kind of protect you against a lot of that toxic positivity minds, a lot of negative comments. I will point out the people that have that toxic positivity mindset are some of the thinnest skinned people you've ever seen.
Yep.
And the most toxic people that are out there.
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Now, while on the topic of their over positive, basically denial mindset, I'd like to bring up the fact that no matter who runs for overseer, it's always a selected person before the election even starts. They send somebody out. So I think it's kind of funny that they have that mindset with that kind of election.
They had a jingle for it.
Are you saying the elections are rigged?
Yeah.
In Fallout? Sorry, in Fallout, are you saying
Stop the count.
Stop it. Stop the count.
There was it's Vault 4 that they fall into later on, right?
Yeah.
So when they fall into Vault 4 and Lucy's just like, oh, the guy there, the one-eyed dude, he's just like, oh, it's just some silly thing that the surface dwellers like to do that we just go along with. It was before my time. That was really on the nose. And then she's just like, oh, okay, I'll go along with it.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being just
So
like a
true.
cult ritual.
Yeah.
And they've got like this like Mao style portrait of Moldover while they're getting naked. And it was just like, it was a really great, like almost like satirical take on the fact that cultures don't assimilate very well to the native West. And I was like, that's brilliant. It was great.
Yeah, Boosh, the second he opened his mouth, I yelled it out loud. I was like, it's Cyril! The one-eyed overseer. He's the voice of Cyril from Archer.
Oh, yeah.
The moment I recognized
Who
his
is
voice,
Cyril?
that character,
The one-eyed
Or Cecil?
overseer. He's the voice of Cyril from Archer, and I just kept firing Archer quotes at the TV. Lana, I found a nuke, Lana. Rampage. Yeah, I know he's Jerry. I know he's Jerry from Rick and Morty too.
Yep. Cyril first, though, right?
Cyril's always first in my. But we loved Archer until we didn't.
I wonder if he's related to Ella Purnell, Chris Purnell, or wait, no, is her last name spelled different? Maybe hers is Parnell. I don't know.
That's wild, Jimmy. Bring that up.
Yeah.
bring that up, Jamie. See if that's real. Somebody can look that up. I have to sit sideways to type at my my computer because my camera's offset.
That would be interesting though, like either father, daughter, or brother, sister type thing, right?
Oh, I see. Malcolm
Get to work.
answered it in the chat.
Oh, gotcha.
Purnell? I knew it was something. I knew it was something like
gotcha.
that. Sometimes I honestly don't care enough to go look. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just assume that I'm most vaguely right.
But they probably joked about it on set.
back on the topic of the Fallout show, how did y'all feel about the weapon pool that was portrayed? Because there was not nearly as many weapons as I thought there was going to be. Because Fallout has very unique guns. And they only had 3 or 4 different ones.
I loved seeing the pipe rifle though.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and the blunderbuss when that dude got shot with the baby leg.
There was a junk jet.
Yeah, junk jet. My bad.
There was a junk jet.
My favorite weapon in 4 because you could throw any trash you wanted in there, and you could kill people with radioactive materials, skulls. Even a toaster.
I was pissed she didn't use it though. It panned up to the wall to look at it, and I thought she was gonna come out with a junk jet, and she didn't. I was like, that's
it would have been
dumb.
so funny if that fight ended with her using random crap from the store to take out his armor.
That would have been great. Why did they not do that? I thought that's what was happening. Throw all the stuff from the store into the junk jet and fire it. And then what was the trank? What was the tranquilizer gun she was using? Is that
It's in-
canon?
That's from
in
That's
the
a
game?
new
That's
one.
from 4 as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought it was made up for the show, but it could very well be from 4, for what I know. But I know it
it's
is
from 4.
canon. Though. It is canon though, for sure.
In 4 you can do a quest line and you get a syringe gun and you can put any
Ooh.
kind of syringe you want in there.
Ooh,
There's paralyzing ones, there's ones that lock their joints in place, ones
Sick.
that poison them, give them rads, that sort of
Oh,
stuff.
where do I get
Sick.
this? That's cool.
Yes.
I'm not sure what quest, but I know it's one of them. You just
That's
have to look
cool.
for it.
I would have liked to have seen some energy weapons in there.
Oh yeah, we will.
That's got to be
that-
coming. Yeah.
That would have
No
been
laser guns
nice.
at all.
Yeah,
The Brotherhood is filled to the brim with energy weapons.
I was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
mad that the massive rifle that the Michael Rappaport had got immediately destroyed and never had a chance to use it. So Maximus was just walking around the wasteland basically doing a melee run.
Oh, and
Then-
a pistol. I thought it was funny that he kept fumbling the pistol.
I thought that was great. That just shows like he's a novice. Like
Yeah.
he's been
Yeah.
in this cult for all this time and he still doesn't know how anything actually works in it. So I actually like that he was clumsy and he didn't know right away
Same.
what to do.
All that he knows is how to break toilet lids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get his face beaten in.
Which
Mhm.
actually, speaking of which, I like in the first episode he breaks the toilet lid, and then in one of the last episodes he uses a toilet lid as a weapon.
He did. I remember that.
Yeah.
He did do that. That was fun. Kind
Character
of funny.
development at its finest.
My prediction for Maximus is that they've presented him as such a childlike character, A, because of the cult examination, but also B, because he is actually very childlike. And
Yep.
I think that childlike sense of that childlike viewpoint on the world is actually going to hugely benefit him and actually make him one of the few truly good characters. I think the 3 main characters are all eventually, by the end of it, going to be like truly morally, lawful good.
I was kind of into his character a little bit at first, but I kept waiting for that turn where he kind of he gets his shit together and finally kind of comes through. And that never really happens with Maximus. He never really snaps to it and becomes the kind of hero character that we really wanted. Even in the end, like he charges a guy in power armor and gets knocked out. Like, what are you doing? Are you
Yeah.
really that retarded?
Yeah.
So
Lucy got the kind of ending to his storyline that
Right.
Lucy got it rather than Maximus.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was Lucy's quest. Like, she's more or less kind of
Yeah,
the main character, but I
It is also
I did-
implied in the final scene. Like that look on his face when they're like, "Hey, you're a knight now," and he's like, "I'm a knight now," and then it's
Honestly,
like he has that
what
look
I
in his
kinda-
face. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do some
I'm kind of hoping for season 2 he becomes more gray and becomes like a control freak.
That's
that
the other way it
tries
could go, for sure.
Yeah, because he already is sort of like that. It would make sense if his character went there in season 2.
Like he gets, like it's a fall.
I would be okay with a Maximus heel turn. Other than that, that's just his understanding of the world. It's like I've got the power now, Lucy. It's
Yep.
mine. Why aren't you
Yep.
with me? And he doesn't understand, so they end up turning on each other. That wouldn't be too bad. I will say my favorite Maximus moment from the entire show is that moment when he's all settled in his vault
Yeah.
robe and he's got the stuff, and she's like, "These people are crazy. We need to get out of here." And he's sitting there looking at the popcorn, going like,
He looks
"I
at the-
really like." He's got that moment. He's like, he really is deciding, do I want to go with the girl I love or do I want to stay here and enjoy popcorn?
Realistic.
Like, he's torn for just a second. He's like,
He had to think
okay.
about it.
He had to think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. He never had popcorn before.
Oh, yeah,
He's
what
in the
was
Brotherhood.
other
Yeah,
thing-
it's like
What was
I
the
just,
other thing he
yeah.
said to Lucy when he was getting settled in the vault again that you laughed at? What scene was that? When he was in the robe and whatnot?
When he saw her for the second time after she propositioned him, and he said, "Oh, hey, you're back. You want to make my cock explode?"
Yeah.
That's right.
I will
That's
admit
right.
it was crass, but I will admit I laughed.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Just because it came out of nowhere, I didn't
Yeah.
anticipate it. But it
It's-
was stupid, but I still laugh. What can I say?
It's funny. Yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
of Lucy and Maximus, I feel like their romance was really forced.
I don't
think it
know.
was.
I
thought it
Personally,
kind
I
of-
felt like it was.
They're two
didn't-
very naive characters gravitating towards each other based on their,
Right.
their kind of mutual path together. So I thought it made sense,
yeah,
and
I
like
did too.
she's never, known a natural attraction to someone else. She was expected to be bartered off as a breeder, basically, because that was her duty as a fault girl, and she kind of leaned into that. And Maximus obviously was a complete virgin, and just based
to
on
be fair, his entire camp was nothing but men, so I can kind of see why.
Yeah, and I don't know what the fraternization rules were for the Brotherhood of Steel, but it was very obvious he did not have the riz or the drip or anything when it came to dealing with girls. I kind of question if he'd ever even come across a female in his lifetime
Probably
way they
not.
interacted.
Well, I can think of one, but the show doesn't want us. The show wants us to suspend our disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, is that a girl or is that a guy? What is that?
Kind of,
and it shouldn't be making you think that. It shouldn't be making you think that. Like, you should be thinking about Fallout.
Right. And I kind of they were straining the suspension of disbelief a little bit. I never felt like they broke it completely. A couple of
honestly, I didn't really care because the character's on screen for maybe 2 scenes at most.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't like lean into it too hard. But here's the thing about Maximus and Lucy. I didn't really like Maximus as a character just in general. I just thought he was just kind of an odd character that I just didn't enjoy that much. Yeah. But I did actually kind of like their like romantic plot. I did too. I thought it was just kind of fun, like these two goofy, like naive characters that kind of like stumble across each other in this hellscape, and like
which is kind of
fun to watch.
Which is kind of how it happens in real life.
He's a knight in shining armor. He's a knight in shining armor.
Yeah,
he's tall and dark.
The knight in shining armor thing really spoke to me because it's like like Lucy, again, she's still stuck in that mindset of like, I need to find a husband and I need to procreate. And here comes along this dude who's not trying to kill her finally, who seems kind of nice, and he's a literal knight in shining armor. He's quite literally a dream to her. So I actually
stuck
was quite
in a suit of armor.
Right. I was quite okay that they got together, or tried to get together by the end of the season, because it works for what both characters are set out to be like.
Yeah. The ending was kind of sad where she couldn't like wake him up in time. And she's like, I gotta go, but like I want to bring him with me. It was kind of sad a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now y'all got me thinking about it. Maybe it's not as bad, but I'm thinking of this in kind of the same view as like how the Vault Dwellers in the actual games are. Mostly like 4s, because the romance options in most Fallout games aren't like what the show was doing, and I'm kind of thinking of it in that POV.
Piper's the best girl every time.
Oh yeah, based Piper.
I didn't play 4. Maybe I should. Maybe I should play.
Should I play 4? You should play it just for Piper.
Did you like Blade Runner, John?
Yeah.
It's all the fun. It's all the same fun Fallout stuff, but with there's a Blade Runner plot in it.
There's like minor Blade Runner vibes.
I do know people's big complaint about it was the settlement building. Like that's hit or miss depending on who you are.
It. I love the settlement building.
You can skip it if you want.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The settlement building is only really necessary if you side with the Minutemen.
Okay.
And the Minutemen suck.
And then there was also the fact that like the dialogue options were not really well done.
Yeah, but
I thought they were okay.
Yeah, they suit themselves.
You would click on one response, and the response that you gave is not what you intended.
Oh, it's because of the karma thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's the karma
they don't
thing.
Have the same karma system.
Yeah. Like
also,
so, there's just gonna be bugs.
What you're saying about Piper, Spencer?
What's that?
What were you saying about Piper? I
was saying Piper was the best girl. I loved her. Everybody should play Fallout 4 just for Piper.
She's a good character. But personally, I found more use out of Kate because of her violent tendencies.
Oh, I never got to her. That's one that is she the one from the Raider settlement or the
she's the
arena?
Raider girl with the baseball bat and shotgun. Yeah,
I want to find her. Yeah.
Plus, you get to have more fun in the game because she doesn't get mad at you whenever you lockpick stuff.
Right. Piper likes it when you lockpick stuff, but she doesn't.
Why did you eat all the
mean?
Why did you eat all the broccoli, Bracken? We had steak and breakfast. I didn't even know you were eating in the middle of all this.
Yeah.
Damn it, Frank.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, like
you
Fallout.
Have any rat away because I picked it up off of a corpse.
You know what? And this will not happen. But I this would be like the perfect meta thing to happen. Vex will not understand this because kind of a nod towards the ending of Fallout 3. Like if the show ends and like a month later they come out with, okay, we're re-releasing the show with a new optional ending.
Ooh.
That's better.
That would be cool.
Oh, that would be so Fallout.
Yeah,
that would be
Yeah.
perfect.
It's so meta.
The reason for that, Vex, is because the original ending of Fallout 3 was like, okay, there's a chamber flooding with radiation. Someone has to go turn on the savior MacGuffin in order to save everybody in the wasteland. And someone has to do it. You can either send one of your followers in there to do it, but they die. You can do it, but you die. And you have to make that choice. And the developers forgot that one of your followers is a super mutant who can literally survive massive amounts of radiation.
Yep.
And before they patched it, the option to send you, if you told him to go in there and do it, he literally told you, no, this is your destiny.
What?
I like that. Okay.
I'm not going in
it's
because
not just Fallout 3. Every Fallout game has multiple endings. I think personally,
right, but that was the only one they patched in a different ending to fix that because everyone
unless somebody
complained.
says that to Lucy in the end of the show, no, this is your destiny.
Well,
and then she like jumps into a vat of radiation.
Right, that would be so lame. And imagine just not being smart enough to just like if you're in the Brotherhood, like not being smart enough to just think of just going and paying some suicidal ghoul. Like I don't know, ghouls exist. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Maximus would probably not do that.
No, I think you could convince Maximus to do that. I'm pretty sure you could. I don't see his speech checks are very high.
He's going to be the classic paladin. I'm calling it, or he's going to be a fallen paladin. One of the two.
Maybe. I think we'll see. That's
Yeah, I think he's gonna give up the Brotherhood at some point. He's gonna see the error of his ways.
Or he's going to restructure it because he was offered by the Elder to take over the world together for some reason. That's another contrivance, by the way. There's another weak point. That's why
I bring up the fact that that's why I bring up the fact that I think he's going to become a control freak because if he has that power, he's going to do that.
Yeah,
I mean, look at what he did when he got his hands on power armor, for God's sakes.
That's true, yeah. That was a great scene, though, when he first got the power armor and he's, like, kicking the rocks through the buildings and they're, like, exploding. That was such a fun scene. I love that.
The first thing you do.
And it really gives the audience a good idea of just how insane power armor is way OP. And so it really gives the audience a good. But then like a few scenes later, it also gives the audience a good view of the one detriment is the whole thing is powered by this power core in the back. And if you just pull it out, when that scene happened, I was like, dude, this is perfect Fallout.
Yes.
The coolest part about that is in Fallout 4, you find the exact same scene. You find a Brotherhood member in the middle of nowhere, and he's stuck inside the suit because someone stole his fusion core.
In Fallout 4?
No, in Fallout 2.
Interesting.
That's even better.
If you give him power again, he'll actually put in like a good word with you and award you. But if you don't, you end up finding him dead a couple days later if you come back.
Of course you do. Yeah.
Is Fallout 2 worth playing?
If you value your sanity, no.
Okay.
I am glad that they did not incorporate into the show for the sake of they did not incorporate how much power those armored suits suck up in Fallout 4 because
so much power. Yeah,
it would have
Fallout 4. You
need constant batteries.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't bother with that. But it does kind of make it seem like with these almost invincible suits that are perpetually powered by their fusion cores, like these guys should basically rule the wasteland by now.
Now, don't call me a fake fan here, but whenever I'm playing Fallout 4, I always hack in like infinite fusion cores because I can't deal with that stupid limit.
It's called
they have
resource management, son. Okay.
I just
Important
have like
lesson.
50 of
you
them
know how
after
hard it is
100
to
hours.
find those
Yeah.
early game?
But
It
it's
is
high
so
risk,
hard
high
to find.
reward.
High risk, high reward. Half the time, I'm not even using the stuff, and when I do, it runs out immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the
They could
Fallout
still-
1 and 2 thing, those games are notoriously hard.
They
Like,
could still,
difficult.
and they could still incorporate the fusion cores because they did show it on screen. And
Yeah.
Chekhov's gun says you don't show it unless you're going to fire it. So my first thought is either Maximus or her dad. No, you know, these two main characters that have power. Probably not Maximus because he's still with the Brotherhood, and they're going to praise him and
Yeah,
promote
and
him.
the dad stole the power armor.
Right. So the dad is going to probably run out of power. They're going to find the suit of
Eventually.
power armor without dad in it as they're tracking him.
You know, the one thing that kind of bugged me when Maximus got picked back up and he had to go back to the Brotherhood and they blamed him for Knight Titus's death. I was thinking the whole time, like, how do they know what happened? Why couldn't he just lie and say he was killed by a bear? I took his power armor. The radio was broken.
Right.
You know?
Why didn't he just own up to it?
You immediately kneel and you're like, brothers, my lords, I recovered the holy armor. Please forgive me for taking
I
it.
think
My
that's
knight
the
was
naivety
mauled
of
to death
character.
by a bear. What was I
That
supposed
thing
to
that
do?
attacked him was a mutant bear. It's called a Yao Guy. Oh, sorry, I'm not muted. My wife was asking. She watched it with us too, kind of off the corner of her side. She's like, "That's not a bear." I'm like, "Yeah, they're called Yao Guys. They're mutant bears, basically." I really wanted the actual Fallout experience when Lucy, as soon as she gets out of the vault and starts looking around, like a mole rat just comes out of nowhere and latches on the side of her head. That's the real Fallout experience right there.
For real.
Fallout 4 had that bad. That early area of the game was filled to the brim with mole rats. Those guys would not leave you alone.
Yeah, the bestiary could have used a little more strengthening, I think, in the show. We mentioned the axolotl, and there's so many other monsters they could have used. I wanted to see a Mirelurk. I wanted to see
Let's
Death
give the
Claw,
benefit
Super
of the
Mutant.
doubt and say they couldn't use a Mirelurk. They didn't feel like it. You have Mirelurk hunters, you have Mirelurk kings, Mirelurk queens, you have a couple other fish-based ones. There's those weird shark dolphin things in 4.
I was mentioning to Bracken a little early, like that's one of my favorite memories from playing Fallout 3 is when I get out and I'm exploring the wasteland a little bit and I get near my first like body of water and I'm standing on a pier just kind of searching stuff and I notice this movement, this rippling in the water, and I notice I'm like, is that part of the game or is that like scenery or is that something I should be worried about? And it was something I should have been worried about. And these Mirelurks, which are like big crabmen, Vex, with clawed hands, come out, and they're hard to shoot because like their vulnerable spot is a slit over their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have
Big
really good
shot.
aim or a shotgun. Shotguns work really well.
Yeah.
And it started coming towards me, and it hit me like, oh, okay, I'm not powerful enough to deal with this. I turned around and I ran away up the hill, and then I stopped to look at something, and then the next thing I know, this thing was clobbering me from behind. I didn't realize it was going to follow me that far.
Yeah, it will.
But it aggroed.
Now that I'm looking at it, the difference between the Mirelurks in Fallout 3 and 4 is so different. The ones in 3 look so cool compared to 4's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
they
difference
upgraded.
is like night and day.
But yeah, one thing I do want to touch on, since we got kind of the gist of it, like just to summarize, some of the problems that we hear people talk about are not actual problems. Like I went over a lot of the things that I personally didn't like about it over this.
Yeah.
But like one thing I do want to touch on is Fallout is very Lovecraftian at its heart. We're just talking about Mirelurks.
It really is.
That whole idea is
Ooh,
very
yeah.
Lovecraftian. Everything about Fallout is very Lovecraftian, and I'm excited
Sorry.
about
Right,
that.
and it's not even like that's like just hinted at either. There's a hidden quest line that's been going on from 4 to 76, following a Eldritch cult that hides underground, and you only get pieces to that mystery through notes hidden in small caves.
Yep. The mysterious stranger is an eldritch being. That's not.
Yeah, that
that's
wasn't
canon.
hinted somewhere too?
It says that as a description for the perk in one of the games. Yeah. That and he's an eldritch being. It's like
I mean,
he is?
aliens are canon to Fallout, so it's not all that unthinkable that the old ones could be there as well.
Something I really I really don't like about the show, and this is just my personal opinion because I know a lot about the lore. The fact that they said Vault-Tec launched the nukes when it's always been vague who launched the first nuke.
They never say outright that it's Vault-Tec.
I thought they did in the show, like the whole beginning of the meeting.
They kind of leave it vague. We don't find out for sure in the show.
Yeah,
they heavily implied that they were thinking about doing, and that was a part of their plan. Which that part of their the plot did kind of not make sense for me because they're going, how better can we control the market than if we launch the nukes first, and then we basically have all control of all society. Like you don't have an economy. You don't have a society. You've got a bunch of rich, affluent idiots stuck underground in boxes and an irradiated Earth up front.
It generally wouldn't make sense if it was them because they're not a country.
Yeah. But they wanted to. Yeah, it just kind of turned into an authoritarian plot. Devolved
Real quick. Real quick, my co-host Gabe is in the chat. I just want to say hi, Gabe.
Shout out.
Hi, Gabe.
Shout out, Gabe.
I felt like the way that they edited with that whole conversation, because when you look at the name tags, first of all, on the table, they're all from different companies. So that's the first strip that it's not all Vault-Tec. But even we learned that Hank was not a senior guy; he was just a lackey at Vault-Tec.
Yep.
So even when he flies off at the very end, I don't think he even understands what Vault-Tec was behind, nor does he comprehend what's going on. So, like, the whole story that we kind of get of, like, oh, all these corporations wanted to blow up the world to just, like, sell things. That's just complete. It's an incomplete story, or that's just a version that he was given. Just like how when Lucy talks to, was it Ma June? When she gets to Philly, and June's just like, oh, the vaults were just for a bunch of people that wanted to live in holes in the ground. When we actually learned, no, it was for a bunch of experiments. So there's never a true story that any of these characters are given.
True.
That's also why I can forgive that whole ending conversation, because it's very clearly kind of said in just the body language and other drips throughout the season that we're not getting a full story by the end of this.
Yeah, and that's how it's always been with the vault. It's with every single vault that you can find, it's mostly a story broken into pieces that you have to put together. And that's what I think it should be like for the nukes. No one knows whose did the first one, but you can kind of piece together who you think it is based on hints.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very.
They're the worst kind of authoritarians. Middle management.
Yeah. I did get a
do-
kick out of that.
I do think that the reveal in the show that it is most likely Vault-Tec that dropped the nukes was kind of like, I think that could have waited for a season 2 or something. Like I think that was kind of
true. It's a big reveal, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's enough to just show. It was enough to show what was in Vault 34. Or 33, whichever one it was.
Yeah, 31.
Yeah.
31.
31.
I do agree. That was enough of a reveal.
I love the mystery of the 3 connected vaults.
Yeah.
The payoff just because we didn't get enough answers, I don't think. And I was a little disappointed because that once that started kicking off, I was like, oh, this, I wish the whole show was this.
Yeah. Me too, dude. I was like,
yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you get something that you wish was better than what you ended up getting. Dark Tower. Excuse me. Did I say that out loud? That's a discussion for another day. But a lot of times you end up diving into the realms of what would I have done different, and that's not really viable when it comes to reviewing something. You have to. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I almost wish they didn't show us because your imagination would have made up something far more interesting than whatever they had.
It was working until we found out. Now, I think if they had maybe given a little bit more than just, it's the people from Vault-Tec at the beginning of the show. They're getting released periodically, and boy, they left Norm on a hell of a cliffhanger right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to go full Fry from Futurama, or is he going to do something else? I think he's too clever to kind of surrender in on that, and try to do something. I would love to see her hooked back up with Norm, and have him be a major character going forward because he's the best character in the show.
Agreed.
He had one of the best storylines.
You know, do you see the setup that they're doing here? This is actually the true why I can't say it is terribly written, because the pieces that they've placed on the board and how they've positioned everything is just kind of coming together very nicely. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about Norm. Imagine when that happens. It's going to be a great reunion. It has to happen.
So hopefully they're able to pull it off.
Right.
And and what about Vault 32? You know, what was, because they kind of sold that as the people from 33 going to 32 as like almost like a funeral. Like, we're never going to, whatever's going to happen to them in 32 is going to be bad. Or implying that it is that cycle going to happen again.
Yeah.
Did the people in 32 really find something that made them all go murderous haywire? Or what? Is this because I don't think 31 really did anything. That's what we were expecting. Did 31 do something to the people of 32 to cause that kind of catastrophe?
Yeah, because the whole all of 32 when they first got there looked like they started killing each other. So I thought, whatever's in 33 either has some ability to control people, or it's something so horrifying it's driven them to madness.
Yeah, and that horrifying thing is the truth. Because in the blood on the wall,
the truth is, all these guys are stuck in cryo chambers. What's so scary about that?
And the truth is that it's an entire project labeled as management, which is essentially controlling the human race. So essentially, right. So the common people in the vault, in this case, were like, never. We'd rather kill ourselves than be experiments. You know what I mean? That's why you see them like with the fork in the toaster. And like, you know, and then the ones that didn't want to kill themselves were killed by other people.
I don't know. I feel like there's something much more sinister. But
I thought they were like cannibals or something.
I don't know.
That would all be good.
Is there something more to it? I thought it was weird that these three vaults are interconnected, but it seemed to indicate that none of them really meet or communicate with each other, except for the occasional swapping of, you know, people to kind of keep the mates to keep the bloodlines from intermixing too much.
Right. I think that's what it was.
To prevent incest.
100%. It was just to here's what they did. I'll just hyper summarize it, put my tinfoil hat on, and just kind of explain how I imagine they did it. Essentially, they got the richest, most attractive people to buy spots in those two vaults, and those are the descendants of the characters that we see. And essentially, the whole purpose of it is somebody from the company gets unfrozen, and then they have their pick of any attractive person that they want in this vault, essentially. And they get married off to them, and then they can have children, right? And then that becomes the inhabitants of the vault. That's how you get like Lucy, you know. But
which Lucy is very lucky she was not in some of the other vaults throughout the series, because some of those other ones are actually horrifying. Right. Especially the one in New Vegas with the plant monsters. That vault in particular had one of the most grueling stories out of
That's
every
a good
vault.
example of Lovecraft, by the way, that one.
Yeah.
So essentially it was like the people at the corporation got the spot for, you know, being the most cutthroat in the company as a manager, and they get to auction for however their bloodline is shaped over the years, basically, is my interpretation of it. It's really dark when you think about it. It's less of an experiment and more of like a little farm. It's a little person farm.
That's actually what I thought Vault 32 was going to be at one point, because I thought it was like a slave vault, and then Vault 33 was like the slave vault for the slave vault.
Yeah.
And it worked kind of like that, like an like Vault 30, like the top vault, the management one was like a rich people vault with
was Vault 32 like a sacrificial lamb of some kind, and I don't think we really got
that's how they got
answer
like
for that,
meat and stuff.
We'll go ahead and guys, we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up here. I'm gonna go around the horn and ask you guys for like your final thoughts and see what y'all think. We'll start with you, Spence.
Cool. So yeah, my final thoughts are, obviously I'm super excited for season 2. I think that ending was just enough of not so much like a cliffhanger, but it just left it to where I was like, I really, really want season 2 now. And I think that not a lot of shows do that. There's not too many shows where I get to the finale and I'm like, I need the next season now. That hasn't happened since like Breaking Bad or like that kind of whole generation of television. And so I was really happy with the ending. And you know, we've talked about some of the pitfalls of the show and like some characters that maybe weren't the best or whatever. But you know, like I said at the top of the show, I have absolutely no problems with this show, specifically for the reason not only was it like a very enjoyable show and I enjoyed it the whole way through, but I think it is insanely rare to get a show that cares so much about the source material. You know, I went through a whole thing with I didn't watch Rings of Power, but I went through a whole thing with Wheel of Time where I love the Wheel of Time books. Like I haven't read all of them, but I love them. And watching season 1 of Wheel of Time was the most devastating like TV experience I've had. Like it was so brutal. I was like, I can't believe they did this to Wheel of Time. And from then on out, I started noticing it in all these other TV shows where I'm like, they just don't give a shit about the source material. And then especially how they interact with the audience in interviews and on social media. I'm just like, God, this is awful. And so for Fallout to come out and be so true to the source material, like so much of what Fallout is lives in this show. And I was so incredibly happy with that, and I was so incredibly happy to see that you know, the actors like Ella Purnell, like her first thing was to go play the games. I'm like, God, that's so rare. And so I you know, I can look past all of its
not if you're Henry Cavill.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Henry Cavill is the GOAT, but you know, I can look past all of the other minor flaws of this show specifically for that reason. If I know that the showrunners and the actors genuinely have a reverence for the source material or love the source material, that puts it up like quite a few points in my books, just because we don't get that anywhere else. So I'm very, very happy with it. And yeah, I loved the show.
A little heart goes a long way.
Yeah.
Vex, what about you?
As someone who hasn't played the games, I can pick up a lot that there is.
The wife wants to say something.
No. Hey, live book mail. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, open it.
Let's see what I got here. Oh.
Is it a porno mag, John?
I don't know. No, not this time. I don't actually remember getting this. Michaela Eaton, Black Smoke. I think, now I remember it. Now I do remember this. Interesting.
Very nice.
Nice.
Small book.
I love it.
Quick read then. I got a bunch of books recently. Go ahead, Vex.
Yeah, no worries. As someone who's not familiar with the games, I'm just starting to get a hang of them now. I could tell that there was a lot of love that went into this when you compare it to something like Halo, that fucking garbage.
Yes, always compare to that. Yes.
Yeah, it's clear that there's a source that they're trying to adhere to. Yes, everything doesn't always translate perfectly to TV or film. That just is the way it is. The performances were great. I think the Ghoul is probably one of the best characters we've gotten in television in a very, very long time. Just all around, he's incredibly compelling. He's very interesting. He keeps you on your toes as well. Like, you can never fully expect what he's going to do scene to scene, which I quite enjoy. I'm looking forward to season 2. Like, much like Spencer said, like, it's very rare that I'll watch a show and just be like, I need a season 2, like, right now. I'm really surprised I was as enamored with this as I was. I'm on my 3rd rewatch now for my own video. So I love, it's great. It has its issues, like, objectively you can't ignore that, but I feel like anyone who is labeling this as garbage or as woke or as like not pure to the source material, I think that's very disingenuous, and they're definitely looking at this through a very narrow and very small lens, in which a lot of the things that's good that this show does goes completely over their heads. And I say that as someone fucking woman normie who picked up on all of this shit.
Well, my wife feels the same way, actually. It's awesome
good
hearing
show. I recommend it.
Okay. Mr. Pritchard, how about you, sir? Final thoughts.
Well, I want to say I agree with Vex on the thing about the ghoul. He's literally a based conservative cowboy, dude. Like, yes,
Awesome.
yes. And I have to say, just his drug binge scene was actually on point because of little details. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he had tears running down his cheeks, but he wasn't crying. That's literally from the euphoria of getting his drugs again. Like, his body just reacts by crying because it's so happy to have drugs again. It's freaking actually the little details there.
I will say this about him, something that we didn't touch while we were talking, is that you can see, how did he go from being such a good family man to the ghoul who lost all his morals? He lost his family. And in the process of trying to find them, he's lost his humanity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And such a good point.
Him going back to try and find them, and Lucy basically kind of being a surrogate daughter in that particular journey. I really want to see how that plays out in season 2. Now that the animosity between them is kind of gone.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I loved, real quick, I loved the whole idea, because when we see him in the one scene in the beginning, and then we immediately, or not like immediately, but the next time we see him, he's doing all this badass stuff, and we're like, how did he get from here to here? And as little details get revealed, it's like, man, I can see how he's kind of like spiraling down this path, and we still don't know exactly what made him like this vicious and whatnot, but I loved, like, as a fan of like morally gray characters and grimdark and stuff, like I loved him as a character, and just like, he's so like vicious.
Complex,
Like,
he's a really good complex character. All right, Bracken, final thoughts on you, bud.
In the day and age where most video game adaptations kind of suck, even though we have more resources to make them good, and the fact that video game movies are probably going to go down the same road superhero movies are. Yeah. They're becoming the new superhero movies. I'm glad Fallout kind of stands out a bit more from stuff like Halo show and actually respects what it's from. Because if you don't respect what you're from, especially with something as big of a fan base as Fallout, you kind of just screwed up, because if you don't appease the fans of your own series, what's the point of making the show in the first place?
Right.
Like
that can be applied to a lot of franchises too.
Yeah, like just in general, I think it's really good that it respected most of its source material and wanted to also be its own thing. And as much as I nitpick about wanting more of the monsters, more of the weapons, just generally more of it, I think with a season 2, it may do that. And if that's the case, it'll be a 9 out of 10 show for me, just by the simple fact that it does everything it's supposed to correctly.
Yeah. Vex has a good point that she brought up, that there is the possibility it could all go tits up, because the guy that's doing it also did Westworld. Westworld had a phenomenal season 1 and a garbage season 2 that it never recovered from. Yeah. And some shows end up doing that. They get you in with going, "Hey guys, it's not as lousy and woke as you think it is." See, and then season 2 drops, and it's like, "Haha, I got you."
To be fair, he could have learned from that, and season 2 might be.
I would hope so. I would hope so, but no, we're talking about Hollywood here, so.
They caught lightning in a bottle and didn't know what to do with it. That's what that was.
Worst comes to worst, you get to play the Fallout games instead of watch the season 2.
There you go.
Yeah,
and, very much recommend.
It's getting so many people into Fallout, and that's awesome.
Yeah, like I've seen tons of new people talk about it. Now, I will mention something. This is also a bad thing, because this gives Todd Howard another reason to resell Skyrim again by making a Skyrim.
Well, look, guys, we're going to go ahead and call the stream there. I've got to wrap some things up before I go to bed for work tomorrow. And it's almost past Bracken's bedtime. You know, I need to tuck him in.
He's like, try it.
I'm just going to mute you real quick, because that's my stream.
He's got the super sledge.
It's okay. But look, Spence, Vex, Rat Son, and AC Pritchard, guys, thanks for joining me. This has been a wonderful stream. Great conversation. Really glad to have all you guys here. And I liked the show too. I thought the show was at least worth watching. I did not feel for once like my time was wasted, my intelligence was insulted, or anything of that nature. And that has been a rarity for me. You can ask Bracken, how many shows do I sit down and bother watching these days?
Right.
It's almost non-existent, especially in the last 3 years. This is all my entertainment right here. All these nice indie fantasy books.
Yes.
And
I personally watch more shows myself, but this has like surpassed any show I've seen in the past year or two that wasn't animation.
Yeah. But it's been a great stream, guys. We're going to go ahead and call it. Thank you all for dropping in. Thank you to everybody in the chat that tuned in to watch. It's much appreciated. You guys, everyone on the stream's information is in the description of the video, so you can find them. Go give their individual channels a sub. Follow them on Twitter and wherever they happen to be. Do you guys want me to throw it to you guys to give you a little spotlight on your channels and stuff real quick?
It's up
I'll
to
go
you.
with Files podcast. Fantasy Files podcast on YouTube. We talk about fantasy books and whatnot. Just look us up. We share the name with a fantasy football podcast, so just make sure you're at the right place. It's the one with like the shield and the F on it. So yeah, Fantasy Files.
Nice.
Vex.
I was on a hiatus. I'm coming off the hiatus. I am working on a Fallout review of sorts, not a straight review. The tentative working title is Fallout. It's not woke, you're just stupid. So keep an eye out for that. But I'm on a lot of other people's streams. So if you follow me on YouTube, it's on my community page every Saturday. If you follow me on Twitter, I always shout out right before I'm going to be somewhere anyways. So thank you again for having me here. And it was great to meet all of you new faces.
Back at you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Been wanting to stream with you for a while, Vex.
I know.
AC Pritchard, go ahead, man.
You can find Pritchard Pub every Thursday on YouTube at Pritchard Pub, and Iron Seas every Tuesday at Pritchard Pub. Also rotating channels with Bat Sauce and The Ultimate Kahuna. Shout outs to them. You can find my stuff on Amazon, of course, Mortal Descent, or just look up AC Pritchard. Same name on Twitter/X. And go to pritchardpub.substack.com for all the past audio that I edit myself of podcasts. This will be on there too. It makes its way onto Spotify. Check us out on there as well, Pritchard Pub. And if you want some free fantasy, go to acpritchard.substack.com, and I have my ongoing all ages stuff there. I'm trying to make it entertaining for the whole family.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And hang on, something else that recently popped up. You have a comic in issue 3.
I do.
Of Anvil magazine. I want to show a little preview of that.
Please do.
I am also published in this issue of Anvil magazine. My story, Valiant Storm, is in there. Where's that comic at? That is not the comic.
John got himself into a magazine? What's
the
coming to?
I know. It's
finally sold out.
Yeah.
But
He's woke now.
There we go. There's the comic that Mr. Pritchard worked on. I know it's hard to see at this angle, but
art by Luke Stone of Fun My Comic.
Wow.
Very good guy.
Very nice.
Issue 3
Written
of
by
Anvil
me.
magazine.
Adapted from the source material, which is available on Amazon. It's just a short story, so it's not like you guys will be waiting forever to see the rest. I'll get it done post haste and put it on Fun My Comic.
Post haste.
And Bracken is just here as a guest. He is not anywhere else online and doesn't really have any channels to follow. So not going to throw it to him. But again, thank you for watching. This has been fun. We're going to go ahead and close it out. I've been trying to close this for like 10 minutes. So.
Minnesota goodbyes.
Everybody have a good night.
Bye.
War never
Peace.
changes.
War never changes.
War never changes.
This concludes our broadcast day. Viewers who found anything about today's stream objectionable are reminded to suck it. Thank you, and God bless America.